Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Let's Set the Tone. We've been having people run through the gauntlet around here a few times, and I figured once we get through at least a gauntlet with everybody that comes on the first time, we can have somebody back on to jump into some more conversation, which is the case today, of course, as Rohit Raju, the myth, the man, the legend, the mocha skin manimal. His mother called him son because he shined like one. He's now in the house. So, what is the jaw jacking?
A jaw jacking, back cracking. God created all men equal, and then he made me the sequel, the mocha skinned manimal, ravishing Rohit Raju. It's good to be back.
There's just so much later in that beautiful tribute to so many old wrestling days too.
Yes, yeah, pretty much.
I'm glad that you threw a ravishing in there too,
dude. Rick Rude, like I know a lot of people from this day and age don't know Rick Rude, but he was probably one of the best heels.
Oh, God.
Looked like $1,000,000, really good wrestler, legitimate tough guy, would beat the hell out of you. He was part of that Minnesota crew with like the Road Warriors, Barry Darsow, who was Demolition Smash, and also the Repo Man, and Nikita.
Favorite of yours, the Repo Man.
Nikita Koloff, but all those guys were like just tough, badass dudes that came from Minnesota and trained. I forgot who they trained with. Maybe in Vern Gagne. I could be wrong there though. But they just some weird wrestling history for you.
Different era.
Yeah.
Who also came from there? I think Jesse the Body Ventura, who I am a huge fan of.
I thought Hogan did too, but I could be wrong. I know he was a Florida guy though, I think. And maybe I'm just thinking he was Minnesota because he did AWA, but
right.
But yeah, Jesse the Body Gorilla. I was in the Baja.
I love the fact that we've got two prolific celebrities, one a wrestler, of course, doing impersonations of him.
Yeah.
And he is accepting of it. It's
yes.
pretty gnarly.
Was it the Killer Cross one?
Dude, he's by far better than what's his face?
Will Sasso?
Yeah.
Yeah, Killer Cross is
legit.
I'm lucky enough to know him and call him friend. I haven't seen him in a while, but we'll on social media hit each other up once in a blue moon. But he's a really good dude. He's also like legit badass. So, but him and Scarlett, great people. Love those guys.
Big fan.
But yeah, he's hilarious. I watched that. Chris Van Fleet, who I did an interview with Chris Van Fleet, but that was before he got really, really big. But it was good, man. I'm glad to see people like that, good people, blow up. It's really good.
His last name?
Yeah.
I thought it was Chris Van Valet.
I thought it was Fleet, but it might be Chris Van Valet.
I could be the idiot. I don't know. I just know I watch all his clips.
It looks like it.
Well, the show's incredible.
Yes.
Like
he's a good dude, too.
Yeah, well, he's a great interviewer. Like, he pulls out some good stuff. I don't know. I'm glad that he's like the guy doing these interviews with wrestlers because he's not trying to be that toxic fan in wrestling.
No.
He's just like trying to get certain people. He clearly is one of these guys, like some of us out there, just want to enjoy all the wrestling.
Yes.
By the way, last week's TNA pay-per-view was fucking awesome.
I believe
stop
it.
sleeping on TNA, everybody. As a wrestling fan, if you're out there, please stop sleeping on TNA.
Yeah, TNA's been putting out, even when it was Impact, the pay-per-views have always been great.
Fucking
like,
right.
always been great. They're always hot. There's always some type of huge surprise. So I'm glad they're getting way more love. Like, business is, like, up a lot.
Good.
The houses are up a lot. The NXT rub helps a lot. And it should. And it's funny, we talked about this, or maybe I talked about it I think we talked about it last time I was here, how people used to crap on TNA all the time, but now that you're affiliated with NXT, people are like, oh, wow, whoa. You know what I mean? It's like they've always been doing that. So it's weird. It's weird how that works.
The tribalism's really, really weird with wrestling. That's it is Friday night, so that is Celtic night. It's a fat can of Vizzy tonight. I got a couple of them. I went to my local liquor store here. The crew at McCarty know me so well. I get fist bumps when I go in there.
Hey.
And I love the old man. He's awesome. They're just great people down there. So stop getting my Vizzy for tonight. Just get a little sippy sip on. And then my massive, didn't realize I was looking at it earlier. I was looking at the camera like, that takes up a lot of fucking real estate. But if you're one of those people that are like, oh, the Stanley Cups, get an Iron Flask. They are much cheaper, go on sale often. And these are no spill, really legit. Same price that you could get 35 for a Stanley. Usually find it's on sale for 25. 40 ounces instead of 32 ounces. I've had it for about 2 weeks now, and I absolutely love it. So
Nice.
Big fan. Keeps things cold
Nice.
all the time. So there's that. There's a little product placement for Iron Flask.
Coffee.
Coffee. Always coffee. All
I have
the time.
water in my bag too, but
Well, either way. So
with Mayo or Mio, whatever it's called.
then that's what's in this too. I use Mio.
Yes,
Have
yes.
you tried the fucking watermelon yet?
I haven't seen the watermelon. I usually do berry grape or cherry black cherry
That's
or
a good
berry
one.
pomegranate. I was doing ones with the electrolytes, and now I can't find them again, which is so weird.
Dude. And I don't know if this is or not about the electrolytes. I get them on Amazon, and you find better flavors or more flavors on there. So I was trying a couple of them. I'm like, well, let's try the strawberry. I think it's strawberry watermelon. I don't fucking know. Anyways,
Is it energy one? Because I don't like to do the
it's
one
the
with caffeine.
B12. I don't know if it's got caffeine in it.
I have to look for it then.
I'll have to show you before you go.
Yeah.
All I know is I'm telling you that I can't stop with that flavor because like growing up as a kid when I got the Jolly Ranchers, that was always my favorite. Was
Yes.
the fucking watermelon, and holy shit, this tastes like I'm drinking a Jolly Rancher all day. So I'm sucking on its nipple.
There's a pre-workout from Chris Bumstead that I got on, and it's the sour watermelon, and that one's really good. And I'm really weird.
watermelon.
Yeah, his protein powder is really good too. I do the dark chocolate one, and I'm really weird. Like when you get the ready to drink ones, sometimes they're really good. Like I like Total War pre-workouts, and they have like flavors that will taste like a Jolly Rancher. There are actual like Lit is another one that I will pre-workout that I'll do, and that protein powder. Pre-workout powder they have Jolly Rancher flavors, and those are usually really, really good. But the Bumstead one I'm doing now is excellent. Highly recommend both of those if you're into working out at all. His pre-workout and protein powder, I love them. Absolutely love them.
And I gotta say, like when it comes to things like that, are generally like I'm gonna get more excited over seeing like fruity flavor shit than I do chocolate.
Me too.
I'm not really like when we go get ice cream, for instance, and she's always getting like candies and Heath Bar or whatever. I'm always like, what's the fruit options? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, when it comes to things like that, I think candy can be too much. So, but so my point is like when you do the chocolate shakes or the different flavor, like protein shakes and stuff like that stuff, the flavor is always just. No, I don't want the chocolate. I wish there was more like things like what you're talking about.
See, for protein, for me, I do the chocolate. Some of it gets really sweet because you can do like the cookies and cream or like the peanut butter ones, and it's weird because some of those powders taste like crap. The majority of them do to me. I have to find one that I really like, so that's why I was like, man, it was on sale, and I was like, I want something new, so I'll try it. And I was at my local vitamin shop, and it worked out. And which I'm very happy because sometimes you'll find one and then it's off the market. You can't find it anymore.
Yeah,
which really sucks.
So I was talking about. You were talking about pre-workout,
but like
different from the protein.
Yeah, so the protein I like chocolate though.
Okay.
I don't like the really fruity. Now if I do when I'm at my gym, I'll get a smoothie and I do the blueberry lemonade. And when I can't remember everything that's in it. I do half a banana. There's like almond milk, a cup of blueberries, 2 scoops of vanilla whey protein, and then there's like a lemon extract or something else in there. And when they do it right, it's like it comes out purple, but it tastes like when it's made correctly, it tastes like Superman ice cream kind of.
Oh shit!
And it's really, really good. And I get that over at Coops, and that's like because they do have a go-to. The go-to is like the peanut butter and chocolate with the banana, which is great. But this one, a friend of mine, she told me about it a long time ago, and I did it, and I was like, this is awesome.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's remember that. Bring me one of them flavors.
Yeah, it's good.
It reminds me of like going to it almost sounds like what is it, tropical smoothie?
Yes.
Sounds like an order like that. 'Cause
Yes.
they've got a lot of weird things like that too for like I think for workouts or whatever as well too. But last time we were there, I was looking at the board. I'm like, geez, I remember when they had like 8 flavors. I swear, and now all of a sudden it's like crazy now. So
Yeah.
well, so yeah, last time, anyways, some pro tips from Rohit there. So last time we ran the gauntlet, we did the Q&A. How'd you feel about that after the first time?
It was great, man. It was fun. I will say this. I just got on TikTok, and I saw the clip about my boxers.
Yeah.
And some of y'all were really shady in the comment section. Yeah. One guy was like, I've never had that problem with boxers. Well, I do, man. I got a sensitive wang, and the
Or maybe
boxers
your wang's
bothered
a
it.
little too.
Yeah, maybe it's not saying. Maybe you don't have enough blood flow down there, brother. But somebody said that, and I was like, I kind of take offense to that. I kind of took it personally.
Yeah.
But But other than that, I loved it. I had a good time. The clips, when us just going back and forth, it's just funny because that's just us talking. We just put it on camera.
Yeah,
that's all that
true.
was.
That's true. And
Just
and
like
you get
now.
and you get a prime time spot in the intro now too.
Hey, all right.
Drastin made sure when he made that to give you a prime time.
I appreciate that, Justin.
When I saw that, I'm like, oh, so fucking perfect, dude. So fucking perfect.
Good time.
Yeah, that was definitely any of that stuff catch you off guard, like really catch you off guard. I mean, I know I kind of.
There was one, I can't remember what it was, but I remember one of them. I was like, huh, okay, all right, this is
Yeah.
but no, that's fine though, because when we talk about the GameStop stuff, it won't catch you off guard, but it's like pretty funny, the room service and
I can't.
My
wait.
God, dude,
I can't wait.
Good stuff.
So any new things other than like the new TikTok? Anything else going on in general as well too?
Yes, on YouTube. I appreciate anyone that's watched it. Okay, so I had to get rid of I had to mute Rings of Power and Star Wars on Threads, right? Because I try not to get on Twitter too much and talk about Star Wars and that stuff
Well,
because
Well, you try. You try.
Well, I got off of Twitter, and I have tried, yes. And then when I went to Threads, it was the opposite. So Twitter's like kind of really negative, and that's where you see the people that are the more, I don't want to say racist, but the more like spit vitriol.
No, it definitely
right?
is, yeah.
And then Threads is the exact opposite, but in a worse way, where it's like the very pretentious, insufferable. If you didn't like this, you're a that crowd. And so I remember I would. Like, I got off, I have my Facebook, but I can barely get on. I get on sometimes, but I stopped talking about politics because if someone believes in something, you're not going to convince them. It doesn't matter. And so I'm sitting here wasting my breath, and I would get in these stupid fights with people. I started doing that with Star Wars and Rings of Power on Threads. And I'll never forget, I watched this guy, and I have this weird boner for injustice. Like, I think I said this last time, for like injustice and justice. And, a friend of mine, she's like, that's a trauma response. I was like, well, something must have happened when I was a kid that makes me like, if I don't think it's fair, I want to be Frank Castle. Yeah. So anyways, this guy was talking about Rings of Power, and he's like, I don't like the show because, he's a huge fan of the book. And he didn't really say anything bad about the show. He just called it a dumpster fire, which was kind of like rough, but he wasn't saying anything about the diversity or any of that stuff, right? And these people ganged up on him and called him... what's the word?
Bigot?
Incel, right?
Oh,
is incel?
Thing, yeah.
And I'm like, why would you guys? And I said, why would you guys call him that? He just says he's a big fan of the lore, of the books, and he doesn't like what they did in the show. I'm like, that's all he said. And you guys went off on him because he didn't like the show and started saying all these things. I'm like, the show isn't good. It's I didn't watch the second season, but the first season I watched all the way through, and I had a huge rant on Banter and Babble about it, and I stand by that. And I just and from what I've been seeing, when I look up reviews or videos on it, it's more of the same. And the stuff they've done with the lore is like they said, you forget about it. This is a fan fiction now. Lord. So it's like, if you don't understand why people don't like that, because you already have an established fan base, which we'll get into later about certain things. So I wasn't a fan of that. So I'm like, I had to pull back. I'm like, I'm getting too angry about this, but I want to express it. And so you were like, dude, you need to just start recording. So I started this thing called Raju's Rants, which is now on YouTube, and some of you have watched it, and I really appreciate it. And I can guarantee some of you guys will not agree with what I say, and that's okay. And I do get heated about some of the things I say, but I go into that. And I pretty much shit on both extreme sides of the fan base, because it's become not fun to talk about something when your opinion is getting dissected and you're being told you're this just because you don't like something or just because you do like something. And so I started talking about that. The last one I did, I actually had fun talking about, was the physical and digital media, and I got a lot of good responses from that. So anyone that's ever watched it or listened to it, really, big shout out to Drastin for making the cover for me, and you hooking me up with the mic. Although I still had to mess with that because the last two I did was just on my phone, because the audio is still kind of weird. But and just you pushing me in that direction, I just start doing it. Just do it. And I do it, and I have a good time. It's very therapeutic. And, it's not like breaking crazy views, but hey, if you guys want, watch it, share it. I would like to get good conversations around that type of stuff and just bring awareness to like, hey, we're making things worse in a fandom for both sides.
Right.
There's reasons why people like something. There's reasons why people don't like something. We have to figure out why that is and just respect it and walk away from it.
That's the problem, I think, with all of it right now is that, it's like I said before, there's hardly a gray area anymore. Everything's got to be black or white, line in the sand, die on this hill, I mean,
yes.
And like, if you're self-aware about some of that, that's one thing. But when you're
Right.
not self-aware, that's what the majority of both of those sides, they're just not self-aware of that.
Not at all.
They're, and that's whole frustrating. So, but yeah, no, I'm glad you're doing the content. I think it's great. Just keep doing it. I'll keep pushing you. I know we all will. I know.
Appreciate it.
The whole crew's excited that you're doing it as well too. So
it's fun.
Yeah, it did. Well, you got to get it off your chest. You know what I mean? Like
it's therapeutic as all hell.
Yeah. So, but all right. So we think we talked about it the first time you're on about how we met many years ago. So in 2007, I stopped being a yes, that's actually a good idea. Half-ass, you said you should come on a beer quest sometime.
Oh hell yeah! I'm not a big beer guy though. I just drink other stuff.
But I think half-ass will agree when I say this. Your perspective, not being a beer drinker but trying the beers, would be fucking great for that reaction.
Yes,
because that's completely objective.
Yeah, that actually we will do that because that's
fucking gnarly.
Yeah, because I'm the outsider.
Yeah, exactly.
So that'd be great. Yeah, I'm down for that.
Yeah, the outsider.
Yeah. Hey yo. Survey says.
So in 2007, I after 11 and a half years with McDonald's, end up being a store manager at a McDonald's. 16 and a half years old, all the way up to that point. For 2 years, ran a store, $2.5 million store, busy one, and decided, hey, I'm sick and tired of working for a franchise and an owner, because the politics and the family drama was like out of control. I could have an episode of telling stories of that and the stuff that that entire family did. Yeah, it was pretty wild. The only saint in that whole thing was the boss's wife. I mean, poor her for all she had to put up with.
Wow.
Her shitty kids and her fucking bullshit husband. So, anyways, so I got out of that and decided because I knew somebody that worked at GameStop, and I'm like, I'd rather fucking do that. Like, get me out of this. I'm making the move from fast food to retail, not thinking that, oh boy, this is a whole other beast of customer service bullshit. And it was on so many levels. There's really not a lot you can, I think, equate to the two of them besides customer service.
Mm-hmm.
It's like two different customer bases, ball games, mentalities, arguments, the work, the things you can and can't get away with, whatever it is. So in 2007, I came into the manager and training program, the MIT program, which doesn't exist anymore and didn't for years, or just only a few years after that, I should say.
Right.
But that's how I met you. So you were running one of the spots here, the GameStop in the area here. So I jumped into GameStop. That was okay. We're gonna try this. I was excited about it. It was right 2007. So you're talking like only within a year and a half or so, you had the 360 drop, you had the PS3, and you had the Wii, which was at this point nearing the peak of the Wii's popularity. So, but yeah, that's where I met you. And if you recall, I told you, and I still have it written down somewhere, I swear, when I talked to Crazy Veronica, the DM.
Oh Lord.
She said your name was Usis. No
Sounds
F.
about right.
No F. So, yeah, she had it wrong, and I was like, so I remember at first I started calling you the name wrong. You might not recall that, but I also had to take 2 drug tests because the first one, I took too much niacin because I was on so much vitamins and stuff at the time. I was worried I was gonna come on. I didn't smoke weed at the time. That was one of my periods where I was, took a break from weed for years. And I dropped dirty in Saginaw. I had to go to Flint to do the second one. They actually managed to get one. For a week, I was laying on my couch thinking I'd quit the other job, and now I might not get this one.
Now you're screwed.
Now I'm fucked. And then Veronica was good enough, or even I think actually Sam Douglas, who we'll talk about, gave green light for me to do it because my roommate at the time was like, you need to tell me if you honestly took it or not. They need to know. I'm like, no, I really didn't, dude. I live with you. You would know that.
Right.
So I don't know how that happened or what happened, but I took the second drug test. Anyways, long story short, day 1 was on a Monday, and it was also your first day at this GameStop store too, because you came from the mall.
Yes. Yeah, I used to work at Suncoast Movies, and they were going out of business, and I knew Grev and Matt Chris because they worked at the Software Etc. at the time, and they were like, "Hey, we're hiring for a manager in training," and I was like, "Oh, all right, I'll go." What the heck, GameStop? That might be kind of cool. I have a lot of manager experience, and so then I was a manager in training forever, but they didn't have a store for me because I think somebody was supposed to go to school, and then decided not to go to school, and so there were still two managers
Like that
there.
with GameStop?
Huh?
Oh, for waiting for the software?
Yeah. So I was waiting for the software, and somebody was supposed to go to
shit.
whoever the manager was.
I didn't know that.
And they didn't step down, and something happened, and so I was a manager in training forever, and then they bumped me down to, I think I was an assistant manager. I was like an second assistant because I was there for like a year, I think.
And now no store?
And there was no store. And then it finally happened. I ended up getting 1031. Met some great people there. Mike Dubs, like one of my favorite people of all time. And then I think Ron was at the 677. It was very stressful for him.
Right after, because they let Greb go.
Yes.
Remember? He got the boot.
Yep.
He got the old GameStop.
He got the power up. You're messing around with the power up. They were saying he was, because we always had a company card,
Right.
a store card.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll let you use it, but you weren't supposed to or whatever. But everyone knew we had it. I don't know. It was like a big. It was just they got rid of them for some dumb
if you didn't
stuff.
put people in the corner with their jobs and worried about hitting those percentages with
Right.
fucking cards you had to make people want to buy and subscribe to. Like,
Right. Yeah.
they're the ones that put them in everybody in the corner.
And it was
I
just.
get it's a business, but
And it was petty too. And if they ever wanted to get rid of you, they were going to find a reason to get rid of you.
yeah, we'll get into that because that's definitely how that place rolls out of all of it.
Yeah. And I knew Ron. I remember Ron wasn't a fan of that, and they asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then I ended up taking that.
Too much for him.
Yeah, it was. And I remember thinking,
there's people here.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do?
And I remember I ended up doing pretty well when I first went there, and I was like, I didn't think I would, and I liked it.
You
I
were
had
there for a couple months. This was because we started the first day together.
Yes,
that's right.
Yeah. And I was like, holy shit, this is gonna be a crazy day.
Right.
And
right.
but we ended up making it work, and then you ended up leaving and going to was it Midland?
So no, what ended up happening for a while because I was in MIT for like,
and you were bouncing around because you didn't have a store.
2 years.
Yeah,
about 2 years, and I was always worried I was gonna get canned. But remember what ended up happening was that I was the cleanup guy. So when somebody got canned, I would travel Flint, Midland.
Yep.
Didn't matter. I worked at one point when we had 14 stores in the district. I had worked at over half of them.
Yeah, that's right.
For
I remember
even
that.
a small period of time. And back then, the gas wasn't too awful, so it didn't matter. It was probably like $1.80, $1.70, whatever. So it wasn't awful, so at least at the start there. So it wasn't too bad, and I was doing all right, money-wise, I guess. I mean, I took a pay cut from McDonald's to come to GameStop.
Yeah, I remember you telling me that.
$1,000. That was tough for a couple of years, but once I got a store and was able to start getting like real, work with my own numbers, it changed. But anyways, so yeah, I was all over. So I was with you at that location till Christmas time.
Yeah.
And then they sent me to the GameStop in Flint, 643.
That's right, Flint.
That got held up at gunpoint.
That's right.
Only a couple weeks after I'd stopped working there because Ron came in and took it over.
That's right.
Or I was working with Ron there. And I was like, he told me, he said, the week of Christmas, because I was MIT, he didn't really need me. They had a full staff. He's like, we don't have to work if you don't want to down this way for a minute. I'm like, cool.
Right.
So I ended up back, I think, at your store or something.
I think you were there for a bit, yeah.
I was there. No, I ended up 1031 because I helped Chance out because Chance had just taken over 1031. That's what it was. Because Veronica wanted me to clean up that mess. Which was...
Who was over there before?
Well, so he had Mike as the assistant.
Oh, there was a bunch of stuff that was going on there, wasn't there?
There was what's his face? It was all the like the GAs. There was something going on with the GAs. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember either.
She just wanted me in there to help support him. That was that time at least. The second time, I don't remember. Fuck, I don't remember what it was. Jesus Christ, it's been so long. There was something going on. I don't remember if it was complaints. They thought they were stealing. Whatever. Anyways, so the first time, yeah, I was there was when Chance was there, and me and you were just working across the street, and that's when that one got held at gunpoint that Christmas.
Yeah,
that was 2007.
That was scary.
That was wild. Yeah.
Yep.
So, but yeah. Anyways, that's how our, I guess, pathway of meeting and where we kind of went with it. But what do you feel like early on, like when you even started? And I can say from even 2007, like what was, because it was fun for a while. It felt fun at that point.
I was there before it went really corporate because they still didn't have EB Games.
Right.
So when I went there, the dress code was really relaxed.
Yeah.
And I still want to say it was very, not grassroots, but it wasn't like corporate yet.
Yeah.
And then once they bought EB Games and they started to make money,
because it came from
that's
Funko.
when.
Well, it was GameStop, but it had come from Funko.
Yes, it was GameStop, Funko Land, what's it called, Still Software, etc.
Yep. You had Babbage's around.
You had your Babbage's. Yeah, you had like several different titles or stores. And then I think it was a Walden Software at one point, but that was like way early. But no, once they started making money, that's when things started changing. That's when we went to the khakis and the polos.
That's after the EB acquisition.
Yes, yeah.
Wasn't EB trying to be like the uppity, like khaki wearing?
I think so. We adopted a lot of stuff from them, and I remember, I think some of their head honchos got integrated into the company.
Morgan was one of them.
Yeah, so they ended up taking a lot of their ideas, and so that's when you started to see like the freedom and the fun kind of get sucked out a little bit, and it was cool. It was cool when they were making money, because when we'd go to those conferences, that was a big deal. But once it started, there was a few years there, and I think you were there when they were doing it, where numbers, it was like they were just harping on numbers, and it was like no mercy. And then after a while, I think it got a little relaxed.
They took them away because they're like, yeah, this isn't going to do anything.
Right.
Because what happened is that that company ended up getting to the Fortune 500. So once you start having those shareholders, then you're bending the knee to them, and not necessarily what's best for customer, business, worker.
Right. That's what it was.
Happened.
That's what happened. Yeah.
Because they tried to do that, they took all that stuff away, and then they started to see they started blaming store levels for, like, I don't know, sales trends, digital. So they started like, we got to have all these numbers. We got to guarantee these numbers because, and we'll get into the numbers here in a moment too. But like, it started that's what it was. I feel like, and that's when they got super corporate. Was that Fortune 500? It all comes back to 2008.
It got really bad. I'm honestly surprised they're not out of business yet. I do think the PS5 and that Xbox helped them out a lot. But digital has to be killing them, because for a while there, they acted like the shit didn't stink because of the used stuff. And they were charging. They were the first, not the first, but they were the main game in town when it came to used products and trade-ins, and they were untouchable for a few years. And they were never in the red. They were always either neutral or positive. They were always making money hand over fist because of the used stuff. And I remember the actual companies didn't like it. You know what I mean? Because we would push the used over new, so that would affect like Sony and Microsoft.
That's why EA started doing the EA Online Pass.
Yeah, and then Nintendo had heat with GameStop for a while because someone had said something.
It was a secret shopper.
Yeah, I forgot what it was, but it was like, don't push.
We had heard, I think
it was about the Wii or something like that.
Yeah, we had heard it was somewhere in the Midwest. I heard it was Ohio, I don't know. But they got a secret shopper would come in, which, by the way, secret shoppers, like, figure out if people are doing a good job. That's such fucking gotcha bullshit.
Yeah,
everybody's
definitely
so different.
Gotcha bullshit.
They do that in fast food too, and I fucking hated that shit. You don't know anything that's going on outside of your receipt. Now, I'm not saying treat people like assholes if they're not being assholes. Clearly not. But fucking, so anyway, so somebody secret shopped a GameStop. This is what Diane had said, the whole, and Nintendo.
I forgot about Diane.
Used guys.
Yeah. Used guys.
Used guys. She said that, well, it's because one of used guys took a phone call or was in store and somebody wanted to buy a Wii and it was a secret shopper and they're trying to talk him out and said, you don't want that. You want an Xbox or something.
Yeah, that was it.
And that was it. And they were hot.
They were really hot.
They held back Wii systems for us for years. They'd only give us 5 a week. Not that everybody else wasn't getting little, but we had to like beg them to give us, product.
And then at conference, when everybody else would give us free stuff all the time, Nintendo gave you like a keychain. Yeah,
there were years that it was like that.
Yeah, and they wouldn't do anything really big. They were not happy with GameStop.
They didn't give us free games or anything for years.
No, it wasn't until we finally got like the 3DS, I think it was, and then we got.
I think even at that era, like in the middle of some of that, maybe they did. I guess
I remember getting a DS one of my first conferences.
So that would have been the first. That was when they were still giving out gifts. But then after I had started, they stopped.
said, yeah, and then it wasn't until the 3DS that we got that, and then even that was like after that was kind of like, eh. But then they finally gave out the Switch.
We always got Switches.
And then which is a great system, but
and they started
yeah,
these games again.
Yep.
Because we held the market on Switch, remember?
Yes, we did.
Because
We were
GameStop
killing it.
GameStop sold more Switches than other retailers.
Yeah, and so we started to get more, which was really nice.
Yeah.
It's crazy how when you start to get in the
Politics.
nitty gritty, yes, when you start to see all that stuff, and then it's so funny because I was disheartened with the company before you were, and I was like that rebellious, I'm not doing that shit, oh, this is just buzzwords, corporate mumbo jumbo guy, and I would like pretty much shoot myself in the foot in a lot of ways, but I was just stubborn and I would not do certain things a certain way. I would do things my way, which was, a lot of times didn't work if it was really against the company thing. And there's sometimes it would, but I was so over the bullshit with that company that I pretty much shot myself in the foot, and I don't regret it. It is what it is. But I liked it. I really enjoyed. I didn't enjoy the workload, but I enjoyed the majority of customers. We had some people that we just fucking hated, and then. But the product, you know what I mean? Talking about video games was fun. Talking about when we started getting the loot stuff, the pop culture stuff, that was fun. Especially the toys, man. Getting action figures, because that was right up my alley.
That changed everything, too.
It really did,
That changed everything. Honestly, it even changed how I looked at P&L. That was a huge thing. When I started realizing that I was making more money on a $60 action figure than it was a $60 game, I just fucking went for it, especially when Toys R Us closed.
Yeah.
We were the only one in the area with that kind of loot.
Yeah.
And for about 2 years, it stayed like that, and then they started pulling back on it. I'm like, you guys are fuck. Well, it's because of COVID partly, but
that I was long gone.
Yeah, yeah, they just started doing that. But I remember, so like when I first started, like I feel like the fun part is because we were seeing like the good heydays of sales for GameStop. We were leading up to 2008. It was good shortly after as well too. But like, we had a crew over at your store when I was MIT that we all just got to be pals.
Yes.
We were playing online games all the time. We were drinking. We were going to parties, bars after work.
Yes.
That was that whole era of like, still KBW was going on.
Yes.
All the parties, all the fun stuff. And it felt like that we all just got to be really tight.
Yep.
And that was what I remember the most, would be like, even if I remember Saturdays, oddly sometimes, because you're in Michigan, so weather is nice, people are going to travel and do stuff. But on Saturday, it'd be me, you, Loop, and maybe somebody else, and it'd be slow, and we just fucking order Hunans, hang out.
Oh,
I would just sit up there and alphabetize dump bins for fucking hours, just because we're usually talking about like Kung Fu or bullshit. Who knows? Probably even Transformers. You know what I mean? Like,
yep.
We were just always hanging out for the longest time, and it was when I finally started like getting kicked around a lot more, and then ended up with a store or two. That's when all the fun really started leaving, because of course
I was bummed. I was like, damn, man, that sucked.
Yep. So, but I mean, it was good for a while when GameStop hit that proverbial 2008, which was the biggest sales year that GameStop had, and I don't know if it's been that high since. I don't believe so. But that become the year that everything was the benchmark for.
Yes.
Instead of looking at the sales trends and saying, okay, the Wii's popular, games are huge. It was like, we got to keep that momentum. Well, that's not how that works.
No,
so.
and we knew that, and I would always hate how they would treat us like we were idiots. Like, we get it, guys. We're the soldiers on the field. So. It was bullshit, just corporate bullshit, and it was the lines they would feed us and the stuff they would say.
Well, because we had good hours.
Just
back
like then. We used to.
Well, I was free 40 hours. Remember that? MIT was free 40.
Yes.
Which, because
I remember other stores were jealous all the time.
They were.
Well, he has. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
But everybody's like, you're one of the busiest stores in the fucking district.
Exactly. Yeah.
Trade-ins and everything, but. And they kept wanting me to go to Flint. I'm like, no, Flint's the butthole. No, I don't want to work in the butthole.
It was, but
4 stores in 5 stores in Flint. There were 6 or 7 at one point. I worked at 5 stores, different stores in that fucking city.
But the man wasn't Flint.
Still sucked. Marcus,
God rest his soul.
Yeah, all right,
Marcus was the man. Everyone knew Marcus. Marcus knew how to talk to everybody down there. He knew everything, and Marcus I hated it because he bled sweat and drank GameStop for that company. He would sleep. I mean, and sometimes, he'd, be too lazy and would get behind, but he would be sleeping
But
there.
he was getting his sales.
Yes.
He was doing some of the shit he needed to do.
He was, and it made me mad because I know they didn't appreciate it like they should have. And Marcus would go above and beyond a lot. So, but he was the man down there. So, and you got to work with him a lot, didn't you?
No, but there was a period of time before the last stretch where we talked pretty frequently on the phone at work about a lot of just work and stuff like that. And then we go to conference. He was part of the crew.
God,
He was part of the crew.
Conference boy. I remember we got in trouble because they'd always want you to bring energy in the assemblies.
Yeah.
I'm like, Marcus, let me get on your shoulders. And so we walk into the conference, and I'm like, "Yeah," and Marcus like 6'7", just
Dude, he's
huge walking
massive
refrigerator.
human.
Yes, and I'm on his shoulders, and I'm like, rah, rah, just going crazy. And they're like, nope, you can't do that. You got to get down. I'm like, shit. I'm like, well, you said bring energy. You wanted it to be lively, and we're like losing our shit.
Yeah.
But
we did.
Marcus was the man.
Yeah, Marcus
Marcus always had that dance too. That
Yep,
you know what I mean?
Yep. I always said that he was one of the nicest people I
Hands
ever had
down.
the privilege to meet. He was like and everybody's got somebody like that. Think of somebody that you got that's like that.
Yeah, genuine.
Yeah, that was him.
Yep.
Always laughing, always having a good time, always having a positive spin on everything.
Everything.
And even if he had something to complain about, he would still find a positive spin on it too.
He would.
Wild,
Yeah,
so-
Marcus was a good, super good human being.
And that's a perfect example of how some of us made friendship, because there's some of us that we still were hang out, and that's how we met.
Yep.
Was through fucking GameStop, and we're still friends. Sean Peasy,
Yeah.
Lupe, you, and then there was customers. I mean, I do a podcast with a knucklehead that was a customer originally.
That knucklehead, I swear.
I know that fucking knucklehead. You know what I mean? And there's still people that I hang out and talk to because of that today. That's how I know Matt, Chris. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, just a lot of these guys and gals. So it's wild to think that all of that great time, and now like it's so far past, it feels like so long ago as well.
Yeah.
Too,
But how long were you there? I was there for 14 years.
14 years.
You were there 14 years as well?
I was there 14. We just staggered a little bit different.
Yep. I was so pissed because I was using all my PTO for wrestling. And we had some bad shrink hits. This guy came in, and I was like, oh my God, we lost so many controllers. What he was doing was because we had the locking peg hooks, but he had like a razor. I guess is how he was doing it, but he was stealing like PS4 controllers, and he was getting everything. And then I'm like, dude, we're like $5,000 missing full of product. And I remember they were trying to find. I could tell they were.
Your DVR.
Yeah, they were trying to do a lot of stuff, and they were like getting on me. I was like, oh, they're trying to get rid of me. I could feel it. And then I got signed to Impact, and I told my boss, and he was like, well, that's going to be your main priority. I was like, hey, I just want to work till April because we had a baller year the previous year. So I had a big bonus coming to me. I was like, I will step down in April. It was like I was there in February. I got signed in January, and then February. I remember he just kept coming in, and he was trying to nitpick on a lot of stuff.
And when you started seeing your DM a lot, or
that's
the
when
HR
you knew.
would come in,
Yes,
everybody was like, "Oh, great."
yes, and I knew something was up. And then I remember telling my assistant at the time, I was like, "If you see HR come in here, someone's getting fired." And I remember I saw she was in there one day. I was like, "Oh," and then Cam came in there right after that. I'm like, okay, either I'm getting fired or one of you guys fucked up. I said, it's probably me. And I remember he was giving me, my boss at the time was giving me a hard time using my PTO. And he's like, nope, can't use that for that. I'm like, I never had a hard time using it before.
Yeah, who can tell you what you can and can't use?
Yeah.
For?
And they had a laundry list of stuff. And it made me mad because people were like, oh, he got fired for this. I was like, no, the fuck I didn't. Like, don't start spreading why I got fired.
Remember how much I had to defend you from?
I was pissed. And even people that were supposed to be my friends, like my coworkers. There's a few of them who I won't speak to this day. Were just really like totally turned their back on me, and I was just like, I was always open with people, any of my employees. I was like, hey, you can tell me if you don't like the way I'm doing something, tell me. But no, they fired me. They had a laundry list of stuff, and I was like, nope, can't fire me for that because I did this. Can't fire me for that because I did this. Nope, this is when that happened. That's why I did that. And then they got me on one thing. I would count the safe, but at night, and if I opened the next day, I wouldn't count it because if you go into the store, an alarm would go off, or you'd have to, so you would know if someone went in.
It's such a fucking it's just one of those things because all they wanted was the big brother you the entire fucking time.
Right, and they knew I did this. This is there was something they knew I did
Everybody
in the past.
fucking did it.
Right. And
It's my time.
And they were going, oh, well, you're pencil whipping. And they put it under, you are falsifying documents is what it was. Yeah. And I was like, you motherfuckers. And I think I was told I got fired for leaving the store or something like that.
I feel like that's one of the versions I heard, yeah.
I remember because they tried to fire me for that, but it was when we had no toilet. So I had to go to a different store to take a shit.
Working toilet.
Yes.
Weird.
And
that's
then,
your fault
because they're like, well, you left this game advisor in there. I was like, yeah, because we didn't have a working toilet. So I couldn't get fired for that because we didn't have no toilet and I had to take a shit. So I was like, you can't fire me for that. I can't remember where I crapped at.
What was that thrift store or something next to you?
Oh, maybe it was
it's one that's closed now because now it's a thrift store again.
But it wasn't a thrift store. It was like
Goodwin.
Yeah, it was began with a G. It was something. I probably went over there. Gabagoo. And then I never forget. I was down. I did tapings at Impact, and they were fighting my unemployment. So I was at tapings in Orlando. On the phone, fighting. I was doing a court case, fighting for my unemployment, and I was so fucking broke because I had just started Impact, but I didn't do any tapings yet.
Yeah.
So I had no money coming in, and my unemployment got stopped. I wasn't getting unemployment. And then I went down there and I won that case because they had nothing. They were fucking.
They got like they always do.
Yes, and the judge was like, "So you didn't tell him any of this, and he did this, and you guys knew this," and they're just like, Yeah. And I'm like,
because they never got they never got representation. A lawyer. They always made the DM do that.
No, it wasn't even the DM that did it. I think it was LP. And she had no fucking clue. She didn't know anything. I was like, I think I'm gonna win this.
They don't document that shit.
And I won, but then they could try again, and this time we didn't represent ourselves, it just went to judges. And I won again, and I got back pay, which was nice, but I was so broke at the time. I had to sell everything because I had to get a passport to go to Mexico for tapings. But I'll never forget 2 weeks, like my first match aired on Impact, and my graphics showed up, and my DM texted me, "Oh, this is so cool," and I was like, "Fuck you!" Like, no way, bro. I was so pissed about that. I didn't even respond, but because I remember when we were back there, he couldn't even look me in the eye, and I understand, like, that's fine. You want to get rid of me for some stuff, and you didn't like the way I was performing, cool, but like, do it like just the way it went down. I was not.
Well, the question is,
I was just not happy about that.
Was he puppeteered by LP?
I'm pretty sure he was. I'm pretty sure he was. But like,
I mean, I'm just for devil's advocate's sake,
right? And it's water under the bridge now. It is what it is. But the people that I had worked with, and I don't even know if they know who they are, but you know what? I'm not gonna say. But there are people that didn't even talk to me, didn't even reach out to me. All you guys did, you, Sean, other managers, but there were people that didn't even reach out to me, and they were like, I was so upset. I was like, because I would bend over backwards for you people if you got in trouble and any of that shit. And some of those people I did bend over backwards when they took in $400 of fake money, and I went to bat for them saying it, and then they never reached out to me. I was just so pissed. I was like, you guys are fake fucks, man. Like, you make me sick.
We could have an entire conversation about people probably in general, I suppose, on that.
That's why my circles are very small.
That's why, as you get older, especially, they continue to get smaller. But so that was how you moved away from the company, of course.
Yes. Luckily, I went to wrestling. Yeah.
Right. Luckily, you did something that you should have been doing for a long time, of course. But like while we're there, like for instance, the rewards, the pre-orders and things like that. Now, I do want to touch base on a couple of those things because trust me when I say that the worst thing that we could ever do is try to shove people bullshit and then put it down their throat. Like, it's not a great time when you're on that side of the counter that you're being told you have to have X amount of pre-orders. And listen, I'm going to be the first to tell you, pre-orders are fucking bullshit. I know why they do them. They always say it gives us
Yeah.
a count of how much product to get in, which is partly true. The problem is that it never ends up playing out that way anyways.
Nope.
It's just literally a fucking waste of fucking time. And like, I get it. Like, you're buying stock and you don't want to sit on it if it's shitty or
Right.
too much of it. Then figure out how to do it incrementally. Don't put it on the fucking stores. You're a goddamn 500 Fortune company. You should be able to figure that out.
But that's what they always did, and that's one of the reasons they were a Fortune 500 company, is because they cut so many corners, and they did as little as possible on the big end, and had us do so much. Like,
Yeah.
the workers were the foundation. They put up with the most shit from people. They gave the most shit to people. They put up with the most shit from corporate. And it honestly, for a while there, when they had, I think it was Forbes had worst places to work.
Oh, yeah.
GameStop was on there a few years in a row.
Yeah, I feel like they were. And yeah, it was partly probably because of the pre-order thing too. When that pop happened during like the PS4 era, like everybody just got sick of it, and we did too. Trust me, because
And they caught on because the bonuses were shit after a while.
Right. And then, like, you know, when somebody comes in and like, I want to buy this game, well, 10 people pre-ordered and I've only got 10 left, and you're just picking up nilly-willy.
Yeah.
It's annoying to have to be in that position, but we are forced to talk about that because then one for one we're getting it in.
Yeah.
The best case scenario is you get too many or a few more, and they get you a couple extra, or somebody cancels some. But pre-orders suck. I miss the days of like how popular Madden was in 2007, 8, and 9 when we'd have the barbecues and people
grills.
You know,
Yeah.
back then when it was like a
I saw
showpiece.
Marshall the other day, by the way.
Yeah, did you? Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it was a
Speaking of
showpiece
Madden.
back then to do all those sort of things. And it was based off pre-orders and the launch nights. And then it just got so like out of hand in corporate. Then digital came in to where people didn't want to fucking go to a midnight. They just want to have it loaded on their system. So fuck yeah, you know?
Yes.
And it was a different way to entice people to that. And he covers that really well on the Rohit rants.
Raju's rants.
Raju's rants.
Yeah.
I keep saying Rohit Raju's rants because I'm thinking 3 hours or something.
No.
Yeah, so you can definitely catch more of that too, but it definitely is what partly has affected GameStop to be where they're at now because, like you said earlier, you know, that was part of how they started acting the way they did. That's also their own fault because they didn't get ahead of that enough time because they were working so much in the pre-owned.
Yes.
They didn't do anything to save themselves from the future inevitability, and that's why they're struggling partly, I think, today now.
And then one of the funny things, they would always preach being proactive and not reactive, but they were reactive as hell.
Oh, they were the
worst.
Tell me what about that company was ever not hypocritical.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always contradicted himself.
And I know a lot of corporations are like that, but I didn't work for a lot of corporations. I worked for this one, and I would see these things. Now, I did believe in the Pro Card. I believed in that. I loved Game Informer.
Especially early on.
Those especially when they had like the deals with the coupons, because there was a few years they fucked that up.
They ended up
Yes,
fucking that too.
but when they had the coupons and people were getting like, you started to the people that would buy more really started to see more benefit from it, and I believed in it. And when you believe in something and you have to talk about it, it's easy to talk about. It's not robotic. So I was a big fan of that. But again, they shot themselves in the foot with that too, which is. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is. It is what it is. I like the rewards as well too. I mean, it seems weird because even though I was working for fucking corporate doing that shit, like, you know, and I don't have any problems working for corporate.
Correct.
I just have like, you got to do good by your people. Where I'm currently at right now, they're pretty good by their people, so I don't got really any complaints.
Right.
GameStop, however, in the retail world, when you work in customer service like that, when you work in retail, a lot of those corporations behave like that.
Yes. I never want to go back to retail ever.
No, ever. I said I would go back. I used to say I didn't want to go back to fast food. I would happily go back to fucking wrapping burgers on the grill line and minding my own business than I would ever want to go facing a customer again in fucking retail because it was absolutely awful. And I'm good on it.
And the thing is, you know, they always say don't shoot the messenger. They want to kill you. And then after a while, like, I became such an asshole to some people because I'm like, I know what this person's going to do. I don't want to deal with it. And they're not. And then I'm like stubborn. I'm like, well, you're not going to talk to me like shit. Because the only thing separated
fist fights.
So I was threatened so many times. I wanted to fight people so many times. And it's funny because I would recognize people outside. Like, some people would be like, where do I know you from? I'm like, it's either wrestling or GameStop. GameStop midnight releases. I'm like, is this someone that I wanted to fight
This
before?
happened to me.
Yeah, and I always have
all
to
the
be
time.
like, my guard's up because I'm like, this could be someone that I don't like, and
Dude.
or that did not like me either. So this could go either way. But knock on wood, it doesn't. And it's been such a long time. But I would tell somebody like, look, man, you were probably an asshole too, and
Well-
or you caught me on a bad day. But there's plenty of people that I do know that are like, man, you were awesome, and so that's always cool too.
The most awkward interaction I ever had, because keep in mind, when I worked at GameStop after a while, I stopped going into public around town because the reason I didn't want to is because I would see people and because I didn't put up no shit. Like,
Same.
you know, you didn't either. Like, I'm always friendly enough. I'm not going to bother you. I'm not going to pester you like a lot of salespeople do because I
Right.
don't believe in that. But if you came in with a chip on your shoulder and were a dick, you're probably going to get the horns from me.
Yep.
And I also hated that job, so I was very jaded for after a while. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to lock horns, I was up for the challenge.
Just
That
needed
was
a reason.
perfectly fine.
Just give me a reason.
Right, just
Yeah.
give me a fucking reason. But I had a guy deliver food to my house one time, and this was after he had a tirade in my store about bringing in some dirty fucking trades or stuff that was cheap or old or something. He like went on a thing, and I said, banned him. I said, get the fuck out of my store. Don't ever come back. That's when you'd see the. I'd drop it all because they'd have no way to prove it either.
Yeah.
But this was always in self-defense.
Yeah.
To be fair. And he walks up, and I open the door. He goes, "Oh man!" Just this. Yeah, you remember next Friday? Remember Casper?
Yeah.
Think of somebody like that with curly hair.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, just walking up like he's like, "Oh fuck," and I'm like, "Listen," I said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "That's work. This ain't work." I said, "Appreciate you bringing my food." I gave him a fat fucking tip
Nice.
because I wasn't gonna play that. Well, now
Yeah.
he knows where I fucking live.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now
You
he
got to
knows
kind of
where I
butter
fuck-
him up. Yeah.
And then I even called and he said to his boss, said, "Hey," I said, "just want you to know the guy you had come out and bring this food was fucking awesome, real friendly, nice guy. You need to tell him that I appreciated that." He knows where I fucking live.
Yeah. Exactly.
I
And if he's
fucking-
gonna deliver your food too, on top of that, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, I had to play it like that. But
What did he say when you told him that?
I don't know if he ever. I don't know. I never saw him.
No, when you said, "Hey, that's work. This is."
Oh, he's all right. I appreciate that, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure
Yeah,
his gears are
thanks.
moving.
Yeah, he didn't
Yeah.
fucking know. He's probably high anyways, like
Yeah.
I am. So
I thought you were doing Paperboy there.
Uh,
You know what I mean? There are some legendary customers too.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
you can make a movie out of some of
Well,
that shit.
Howard Stern has what he called the whack pack. GameStop. We all had our own whack pack.
Yeah.
We had yeah that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. he-
Or how come? Or was Edith?
oh, she was the one that would shit on the
She
floor.
shit her fucking
She would
pants.
shit her pants.
Yeah,
She was
her
absolutely out of her mind.
out of her fucking
her-
mind. She would just yell and scream. She
Dude.
talked loud. There was no this
Yeah.
this volume did not exist. As soon as she came in, she was unhinged.
I don't know if she was on drugs or if she's got an issue or whatever.
I
it
think
was.
it's everything.
She needed a handler. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was we had lampshade.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
Lampshade. Yeah.
That guy was something else. Like, yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, he could potentially be on a sex offender list. I don't know. That was the way I always looked at it.
Yeah.
He was a
I would always tell Nikki, I'm like, yeah, be careful.
right.
That guy, he probably you whatever you hand him, he's probably smelling it. Oh, she touched it. Ah.
Right. And then Battle Stations, Roy.
Oh, I still see
Battle
him
Stations,
at
yeah, with
Goodwill.
that.
Yeah.
He was one of these people
Talk
that.
here. I felt bad because I'd be rude to him, but he
Well,
just
because-
won't
well, the
shut
problem-
up.
Well, he didn't like me because he said he wouldn't go like deal with me because
Yeah.
I would shut him down because he would come in and he'd be doing work. You're working by yourself. I got 75 things to do.
He won't.
I'm going to talk to people and have
Yeah.
a conversation. But if it's a one-way conversation, you're telling me shit because you've literally. And this is what would happen is that some people, and I'm sorry, I get it. Some people don't have a lot of people
Right.
that they can talk to, that listen. But also fuck the same people that don't, that come into a place like that trap you and know you have
Punishers.
yeah,
He's a punisher.
yeah, know that you have nothing else that you can do but just listen to me.
Yeah.
And I didn't put up with it. I'm like, listen, I had to tell him a few times. I'm like, where are you getting this shit from, dude? I don't have time for this. Like,
Yeah.
I just didn't have time for that shit. So
There was a few people that would come in and they would just want to sit there and talk and hang out. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this ain't the place, man. Like, I like you and you're a good dude, but like you gotta go.
Sometimes there were people in times that
And then I have to be rude to them, and I was like, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, but like,
I mean, some people knew that you were busy and would just once in a while say something, or they would just look around. I had people that come visit me just to hang out. That was cool,
right?
Because they also either worked in customer service and knew how to manage themselves.
Yes.
So that was different. But there was a lot of times there are people that wasn't, and I ain't got time for it, especially if you're just blah 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 away about bullshit. But again, the numbers thing, like overall, that was annoying to deal with. And then you saw this like you were I just want to kind of go back to like how we were talking about how it kind of like at first seemed like great, and then it started seeing this shift once they started getting like very overly corporate. But the problem that we had, that even at the good times, is that you had people running these things that were in charge that didn't understand the gamers, the game culture. They didn't barely understand the business they were running. They just wanted to come in, and they were running the place like it was an old school early 90s tech company, or even worse. And that's how you got guys like Sam Douglas as a regional manager who come in with this fucking like porn mustache looking like motherfucker, and he would talk. This is how disrespectful that man was as a leader, boss. Is he would come in and he would look at your store, look at your merchandising, make sure you had everything right, and then look at your boss, who honestly, like, he's the boss's boss, right? You look at your boss and talk as if you didn't exist, and say, why doesn't he have this fucking stuff corrected? Why isn't this clean right here? Why is this like that? And you could be like, you can talk to me, I'm an adult. Or maybe it's because I don't got the time, maybe it's because other things happen, maybe it's because but that's when I started getting really jaded for a while. And then finally, he moved on. They did some redistricting. Things started to change. It started to plateau out and get a little bit better. Because there was a good time there when we had, like, Patrick there for a while.
One of the best bosses I've ever had.
And friend now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Talk to him this week, actually.
Tell him I said what's up.
I will. So just a different ball game at that point, too. But then things started kind of taking a turn, and that was COVID.
I was gone, so you tell me about this.
So,
before we get into COVID, speaking of management, I almost fist fought. I almost fist fought my boss, one of my PMs.
Manuel?
There was a huge snowstorm. There was bad drifts.
2010?
Yes, and nobody was getting anywhere, and like almost the whole city was shut down.
We were getting an inch of snow an hour, so we had a foot of snow or more throughout a 12 to 24 hour process. To enough they closed down an actual mall, which has only been closed like twice.
Yes. And we would always texting was big at the time. So I mean, it's big now, but we didn't call. We would text, and I could not get out of my driveway. There was no way. And so I tell my boss, I'm like, hey, I'm going to be late opening the store. I cannot get out. And he's like, you have to get there, yada, yada, yada. Get a hold of your assistant manager. So I'm texting my assistant, and I'm like, hey, he didn't answer, so I'm going to try to keep shoveling and get out. And then he ends up calling him, my assistant. He calls my assistant, and then it took him forever to get there. And then I had to get my buddy, who has a truck, to come and get me, but he couldn't even come down my road. I had to walk to meet him on the main road to get taken to work. I think we made like $300, $400 that day. We were open 11 to 9.
Any asshole that drove there to pick up anything was an asshole.
Exactly. And then I remember the next time he came in, he wrote me up. He's like, you should have called him. You didn't take the proper steps. You just texted him. I'm like, I ended up talking to him. He's like, well, I called him and he answered. I'm like, there was no way I was getting here. And he's like, you opened the store late. And I'm like,
you walked to the fucking snow.
To the store in a snowstorm. That's what I told him. We started arguing, and like we were literally nose to nose, yelling at each other. And I can't remember who was out there. I think my ASM and somebody else. Yeah. And they were like, hey. And then I remember I walked out, and he's like, you need to sign this. I'm like, I'm not signing shit. I was like, get that shit away from me. I was cussing at him. It was like I was ready to throw down. And he had a weird little man complex. He wasn't a little guy.
Oh yeah, no.
But he had a weird.
He had a power issue.
He had a power issue, yeah. And he had some other stuff that he got in trouble for, just being weird, perverted. But he was one of those.
he was a perv, but his wife probably wouldn't let him be a
Yes.
explorers. I don't know.
Yes.
It was some weird like
Yeah, it
that's
was
a whole other- that's a whole
weird.
other thing,
Yeah, but he wrote me up, and then when I walked out, I remember he left, and they were like, "Hey, we heard you guys screaming at each other back there," and I told him what happened, and then it was months later. He actually apologized to me about that, and he said he was in the wrong. I was like, "Oh, that's pretty cool."
Russell out here says, "Imagine thinking you have the balls to fight Hakeem Zayn."
I mean, I'm not a big guy though, you know what I mean? I'm a little dude, so I'm not very intimidating. But like at the time, I was doing mixed martial arts too and boxing, so I would have killed that dude.
Yeah, yeah.
I seriously, I'd have just wrapped him up, wrapped his tie around his neck, I'd have jacked him up.
Or
I was ready
from
too.
way over here with one,
Yeah.
or
Oh
from
my
back
God.
here, way back. He took it from like way back.
Well, he was a vindictive person because remember, Jim made a comment, like a joke. We were all in Vegas drinking, and he made a joke about touches velvet or something. I forgot what it was. Or he
Showed
made
his
him
pubes.
He made him, but he also made a joke about him being gay or something. And he was like, "I'm not gay." And then the next one, as soon as they got back into town, he went and audited the hell out of his store and gave him a hard time and said something to him. I even wrote him up for something. I was like, "This is a vindictive ass dude." But anyways, not to derail that, I had to throw that out there because we were talking about management. But COVID.
So once COVID hit, which was wild. And anyways, we got back from end of January. I just got back from Disney, and I remember seeing all the stuff on the monitors, getting ready on the buses and stuff, and seeing all the stuff about COVID and overseas and all this stuff. And I was already thinking like, man, that's really wild. Look around, there's some people that wear masks already. I'm like, oh well, they're out in public, makes sense. Like I get it, right? Home for a month and a half, and then all this COVID starts. I was already kind of keeping up on it, and then the governor decided to shut down, or all these shutdowns started coming, and it was like that week of March, the second week, and I was like, what the fuck? So we pack up, done. I'm in furlough for 3 months. They kept begging me and my staff to open up our store and get back there early and do stuff at the door, and I wouldn't do it because I was like, like our governor and other people are telling us that they're waiting for the flat line or the curve or whatever it was. I don't recall now. It's been almost 4 fucking years. They're doing all this stuff. I'm like, I'm waiting. I'm not gonna I know what you're doing, and I'm not doing it because I'm making money to sit on my ass and be safe. I'm high risk. I don't fucking care. So we kept going up until I think right before the release for Last of Us 2 the week before. Once we got back, that company was never ever the same as it was before. And listen, I get it. Didn't make any money hardly during then. It was tough. I know during that time frame, I wasn't at the store at the time, but Final Fantasy remake dropped.
Yep.
That was the big drop, and then Last of Us is the last end of the summer.
And Ghost of Tsushima.
And Ghost of Tsushima, yes. Tsushima, yes. Whatever, yeah. Yeah, I know. I do that all the fucking time.
That's how I am. Yeah.
But so that was that. That was old. Any visibility of old GameStop at that point was completely gone. Until I left for about 8 or 9 months, I worked 40 to 45 hours a week, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m., 8:30 every fucking day that I worked. That is the absolute worst shift that you could put an adult into.
Yeah.
For months, and that's what it was. They completely cut our hours, which I get it. We still weren't getting a lot of people in.
Mm-hmm.
We should have just went down to select days we were open. I came up with all kinds of suggestions of what they could have done. Ghost of Tsushima, yes, absolutely. But they didn't. And my staff, I think somebody would once in a while on 2 or 3 days of the week would be allowed to come in for 4 hours here or there, maybe on a Friday. But we would have it got so bad they would have us open at noon on Saturdays, and because we had the Cabela's on the end, I would get swamped for an hour, and it would almost be need 2 or 3 people, and you would just get bombarded with trades and everything and high prolific sales, all this stuff. It was fucking tough. During this time is when I because of partly furlough got into drinking pretty heavily. And that kind of continued because when you're working 11 to 8, I mean, fuck, I can stay up a little bit later and fucking play a game, get a little crunk, and then go into work or whatever it was, right? So dealing with a lot of that, I started dealing with a lot of home stuff, a lot of things and a lot of realizations and just struggling. And finally, after all that bullshit, we dealt with so much from corporate. They wanted us to keep pushing comes back full circle to the rewards and the reservations. They want us to press that stuff like COVID had never happened.
Jesus.
And we're getting like, and it got to a point where I'd heard they wanted to start doing like the number counting at the door, like it was like 1995.
Oh my
like you're in a mall. They
yeah.
wanted to start seeing like the conversion rate. And I'm like, you guys realize we're just out of a pandemic, right? Like nobody's shopping. What are you fucking trying to do? So I was dealing with that. It was absolute mess. Anyways, I had my life threatened 5 times in the matter of about 4 weeks, and I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yep.
I gotta get out of here. And luckily, that spring of 2021, I had my out on April 12th. I started a new job, and then on a Friday, the old one, new job, weekends off, mornings going forward, and that was that. And that time during COVID felt like, I know I aged a year or two during that time, not just from the stress of life in general, because that was a big part of it for some of us, but during working at GameStop when we opened during the still part of that pandemic was fucking awful. It was awful. The holidays, everything about it was awful. They were still having us do the dumb late nights, the Black Fridays, all the dumb shit, all that shit. We don't miss any of that shit. Black Friday, all that entire culture of how the America, United States, or whatever has run with like. I'm a materialistic guy. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not like fighting people over it and all that stuff. We could tell stories about that sometime as well.
Right.
That deal.
That's a whole different.
Episode.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Whole episode, but that's how I finally end up leaving. You're gone, we're gone. That is, for the most part, GameStop. I do want to finish a little bit on the GameStop with something fun and positive at the very least.
Hell yeah.
Which is conferences.
Woo.
Conferences were the best time for us. It was a mini E3 that video game companies would put on for us in different locations around the United States as a store manager. The best times were for me, Indianapolis and in Vegas. The few times in San Antonio were just awful for one big reason in particular, but also because of soup pants, 6:30 a.m. and you got, humidity in your
ball sweat,
just awful.
Cooking stew down there.
Cooking your balls like it was in stew. So yes, definitely got to sell Game Informer subscriptions. But for all that build up for the subs, we'd finally get to have 3 or 4 days at conference.
The best. And
were you still around? We got smart about it leaving on Saturday.
I don't remember.
That was when me, Noel, and Sean started like, we need to go on Saturdays. We would get there a day early, so we didn't arrive with like 5,000 people, have dumb layovers, have all this shit.
Maybe I might have. That may have been at the tail end.
I feel like that was like one of the one or last 2 ones that you did.
I think so.
Because I know it was, because that was where I think that was the weekend we watched Game of Thrones on my phone.
Oh, did we?
7 when the dragon hit the wall. You were in there for that, weren't you?
I think so.
Yeah, I think
so.
I don't know. I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know now.
Because that was one of the ones where you guys got lost in Vegas. Wasn't it?
Vegas.
Were you part of that, or was that just Sean?
Maybe
you were done.
Were we with Cam?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I think it was me.
I think that was you.
Yeah.
You guys went in some crazy way and were like... lost.
Oh, and then we went to like because we walked all around, and I think we went to go to like a karaoke place.
Yeah, that was that.
And it looked like a freaking dungeon.
Yeah.
I was like, ugh.
But the conferences overall were fun because you were in classes from 7 to 7, so it was definitely a long day. But you had this small, awesome window, and we were acting like jackasses all day either way.
Yes.
You had about a 3 or 4 hour window, depending on who you were and how you could. I couldn't do this anymore, but back then I'd run on 4 hours of sleep comfortably. If
Pretty
I needed
much.
to. And I wore my sunglasses the entire fucking time.
Yeah, you're hungover a lot of the time.
Hungover most of the time.
Yeah.
But we did a lot of fun stuff. We were able to do some stuff in Vegas.
Dude.
1 year, the first couple years were great because we had like me, you, Greg,
G-Money,
Ron. We just had like
the
Gilly
first
the kid,
the first
Jim.
night with me, you, and Ron. We were in the Mandalay Bay.
This is 2007. I'd only been with you guys for about a month and a half.
Yes, and we were drinking, and we were just laughing.
What did they call themselves, the Triforce or something stupid?
I think it was a Triforce. I think was it you hit. They had those towels that they were wiping the tables with, and either Ron hit you with it,
So
you hit Ron.
So it's like 2:00 in the morning,
and we're just fucking
and I'm like
dying laughing.
I'm like, I need to get I'm drunk as fuck. I got to get something in me. So we walked to the
little food court
over
yes.
the Luxor, and it was like open 24/7 or
Yes.
whatever, and I just got a couple double cheeseburgers from McDonald's. That's
Yeah.
all. And we're walking back, and I'll never forget, because I was fucking with him.
Yeah.
And I was fucking with him, and out of nowhere, I'm walking, and I feel a whop in my face, and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. Oh my
We're in
God.
Las fucking Vegas, and this guy takes a fucking
Dirty
rag off a
rag.
fucking table in Las Vegas and slaps it in my goddamn face.
We were on the ground.
We were laughing
crying.
so fucking hard. I'm surprised Chris Angel didn't hear us.
And then I think that was your room with Chance, right?
That was year one. That's when
And so
motherfuckers.
So it was like we found out what room he was
Same
in, his
night,
room
too.
number, same night, and we had room service call him like at
it was 5 a.m.
5 in the morning.
5 in the morning.
So we get down to breakfast, and I can't remember how it may have been you or maybe we initiated it, but Tom was like, room service called me. Anyone wants to have a room service call like at 5 in the morning? I got up and started getting ready, and then I saw the time, and I'm like, I instantly put my head down.
I remember looking over at you and looking at your food, and I could see the corner of your mouth. You were fighting the smile.
Yeah.
I looked at him like, it was fucking you. It was fucking you guys. And then Rod starts laughing. I got up.
Oh, fuck. It was so funny.
I was out for 2.5 hours if I'm lucky.
Yes.
Passed out. It's 5 a.m. I'm thinking that I thought it was 6 or 6:30. So I get up, I shower and get ready. I never look at the phone. Never even look at the phone. Never look at the clock. Whatever it was. I get ready, and once I'm out, that's when I look at the one. I'm showered, I'm dressing,
Yeah.
I'm looking at the time. I'm like, why is it 5:30?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my fucking God, I got up way too early. So I lay down, set the alarm for like 7 seconds, and looked. I'm like, that's still the same. Why did room service call me?
Yeah.
What the fuck? And Chance might have been out. I don't know. But yeah, just getting down there the next morning and looking at you guys, because I was just like, the weirdest thing happened, and you motherfuckers, same night. And that was also because that was my first week there at a conference. I roomed with Chance. That was when he had his. We always joke about this now. Like the first night we got down there, we didn't go out and do anything late, so everybody's tired from traveling.
Yeah.
And he did a 2-hour like Nintendo rant on me. And we always joke about that to this day, about because we were dealing with the Wii and how much bullshit they were, how much bullshit Nintendo is about some things when it comes to their first party titles.
Yep.
He went on this funny fucking rant, and he was so angry. You know how animated he gets.
Yes.
But that was great because that was also when Slash showed up for Guitar Hero.
Slash was with Ozzy.
Yeah.
And then Travis Barker was the drummer. And when
Yes.
Travis flew back, he got in that plane crash.
Yep, that was the same fucking thing.
That was in the Mandalay right after the fights. That was and then I remember the last night, or we used to have that thing where we would play the penny slots, but there would be like 5 of us.
Oh, we found yeah, it was.
We found a loophole. So every time the waitress would come, somebody would tip her like $5 or $10. So we have so she's coming back to us all the time. So we're getting,
and we're double fisting.
Then the last night I was dead. The last night I was double fisting 2 double shot Black Russians, and I was just hammering. I remember John Deegan came down.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, John Deegan!" I was hammered. So we're about to leave, and then there was like a little dance club or whatever.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "Oh, there's music. Let's go check that out." So I buy another drink, and the music's, and I'm outside just.
He's out there doing his little 2-step in the fucking dance floor.
And then
there might have been some attractive people out on the floor you were dancing with.
I don't know, no. But I'm like, hey, help me up to my hotel room. And then they helped me up to the hotel room. And I remember it was like, we had to leave in 2 hours, be up in 2 hours. And then they put me on the bed.
That was another conference. That was that night.
That was that
might have been
night.
the second night or the second conference I was with you at.
I thought it was the first time we were in Vegas.
Was it?
Yeah, because I remember the first time we were in Vegas, I got
Is
annihilated.
that when we had like Quiznos or something at the airport for breakfast? And you're like, I can't eat this.
I had a Big Mac. So anyway, they lay me in the bed. My feet are hanging off. I'm laying in the bed like this, fully dressed, contacts in, and my feet are hanging off. We get up. I go downstairs. I pack my stuff. I'm like, oh my God. I puke in the lobby. We go to the airport. I buy like a $12 fucking Big Mac meal, take one bite, can't eat it. I'm on the plane in between two other ladies, and I said, "Ladies, I'm really," and it was September 11th, so I remember
Oh,
it was
security was always
crazy,
always extra
and I would
hard.
always get pulled aside.
And remember, they always flew us out
They
on
always,
the 11th because we figured they were getting discounts.
yes, that's yep. I think they were, and then I never forget they took me and these foreign. I think they're from Spain. And they made us go into this machine, and it shot like air onto you, so it could see like your clothes. And they were freaking out. They're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm drunk. I'm like hungover, dying."
I'm like, some color I deal with this constantly.
Yeah, I'm like, "You're fine. Just go with it."
Yeah.
I get on the plane. I'm like, "Ladies, I'm really hungover. I apologize if I puke. I'm sorry. I'm trying to fall asleep. I'm sweating out of the blue. I grab the bag, and I'm just like." And I'm just throwing up in between these two women. I just go, "I'm really sorry," and I just pass out, and I was just done. But the Vegas well, when I first started, the conference was like we went to Texas, and it was just like. Like we were in Dallas or something. It was like a little small thing. I'll never forget LucasArts. Everything was PowerPoint presentations, maybe a couple trailers. Boring as fuck. But it was always LucasArts and Blizzard, because it wasn't Activision Blizzard yet.
It was still it was Vivendi doing it.
Vivendi, yes.
Because they were the parent company.
And they were the two coolest people, the two presenters. And then
Always the funniest.
And then the night of you'd have the expo, they'd bring a comedian, and then they had like Colin Quinn a couple times. He would run a set and be really funny.
Do you remember Bill Burr that one time in that one breakout room?
Bill Burr.
You don't remember him being there that one year?
Bill Burr was there? That's like my favorite comedian, and I
had hair still though. And he was doing a bit because it was like one of those little fucking DS games, little cat and dog games. And he's like, "What the?" He's like, "What is going on over here with this shit?" You don't remember that?
No, I'm so upset I didn't see Bill Burr.
Yeah.
Was that around then?
Yeah, this was early on.
Shit,
You were definitely around then. I don't remember what breakout room that was, but I'll never forget.
I'm so pissed about that.
Yeah, 'cause you just don't remember it.
Well, so it was very small, and then we started going to Vegas. That's when it got big. I'll never forget one of the best moments ever was when Dark Knight was coming out, or Batman.
Yeah.
Was it Dark? Is Dark Knight?
It was
Arkham Knight. Arkham City. That's right.
It was Arkham City.
And like they have like the cast from Lion King, like the dancers, but they're all as like Arkham inmates, and they're running around. Like, so you got to think there's like 5,000 people in this room, and someone's playing the drums, like boom, 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 and they're running around. All of a sudden, the Batmobile pulls up. You're like, "Oh, Batman's gonna fight him."
Literally, the fucking Batmobile.
Batmobile pulls up. Yeah. Top pops, opens. Mark Hamill pops out. The entire fucking stadium loses their shit. He gets probably 2-3 minute standing ovation.
Yeah.
Because at the time you didn't know if Mark Hamill was going to voice, because he had retired because of his voice was hurting, and he starts just going ham with the lines. Hamill. And like, yeah, it was so awesome. It still gives me goosebumps. It was one of the coolest moments ever. I'll never forget that. The night we were up in the hotel room, we were singing Boys to Men. Ron fell asleep, drew the dick on his face.
Was that when we were also calling? Was that after Darth Vapor? He had his big
old
vape.
He had that big vape, and it looked like a lightsaber. Yes.
Darth Vapor.
Holy shit.
Yeah, that was some good shit too. But that was conference though. The conference was a blast. Like, it was a long day. The food was hit or miss. Sometimes you could find something. I mean, it was conference food, so it's not great. You're feeding 5,000 people. But there was once in a while, breakfast I always felt was the best.
Unless you drank, don't eat the eggs.
All right, well, some of the venues were better. But yes, because you would drink the eggs. But we got all the freebies. We got, Sony and Xbox always hooked. Sony hooked it up for years.
The expo was amazing.
Yeah, I like I was saying the other night on B&B, like, I didn't have to buy a console until the PS5 came out.
And basically almost every game we got.
Yeah, we got
every top tier game.
We got all the top tier games.
Yeah.
But the expo was great as a mini E3, so we would spend some nights. I mean, after a while, I think they even did 2 nights for that. I thought, but maybe I'm crazy on that.
I think they did 2 nights, but they were doing it for the public.
Maybe that's what they started doing. That. They're trying to be cool.
Yep.
But we had a blast doing that, playing all these games, checking that out and doing all that stuff. That's how I got to meet fucking Dr. J. You know, got to meet the Miz. You got to play a video game with fucking
Samoa Joe or
Samoa
AJ
Joe-
Styles.
or AJ Styles.
This was right when I started training wrestling, and it was for TNA, and it was AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, and Christy Hemme, and they were there. And I remember I was like, "Hey, what kind of advice do you have?" And you know, I was being a mark,
That
but
was
like,
fucking cool.
yeah, there was a lot of cool people: Randy Orton, Tori Wilson,
Yeah.
Rey Mysterio,
Yeah. Rey
Dolph
Mysterio.
Ziggler. I talked to Dolph Ziggler when he was super cool. There's a UFC guy, I forgot his name. Shit. Knocked out Fedor the first time.
Randy?
No.
No, because you saw when that was you saw Randy on the plane.
Yeah, Randy had just lost.
Yeah.
He had
yeah,
two black eyes.
Yeah.
I think he fought Brock. I can't remember who he
Wearing a
fought.
bucket hat.
Yeah.
He loved that hat.
Yeah. Damn, I remember who it was now. But yeah, man, there was
That
a
was a
lot
good
of cool
time.
celebrities
That
there.
that was the good stuff of conference. It made the entire bullshit year that you put up with. It made it worth it because you got about $2,000 to $3,000 worth of swag.
Yeah.
PSVR 1 year.
Yeah.
and a
Holy shit, I
PlayStation.
forgot about that. That
Yeah,
1 year was
yeah.
insane.
1 year was insane. Then the PS4 and all the goodies like Sean Layman or God, what's his name? Sean. Fuck, Brett would know it. He used to work Levy. He used to be like the guy with Sony, but he would show. He was just giving us. He was just giving us shit. He's like, you want this? You want this? You want this? I mean, it was wild. But that is the GameStop talk. That is everything.
And just hanging out with
That's a lot
with everybody.
Yeah, it was a good time. The conference stuff was good, man. We just had a blast, and we would always try to ride that train after and be happy. But once you got thick into Black Friday, into the holidays, GameStop made a way to make your life miserable. Working 50 hours, 60 hours during, the week of Christmas, not being able to see your family. Telling them we're not busy after 5, 6 o'clock on Christmas Eve. Stop keeping us open. And they still would. The dumb hours when Walmart decided they had to open at 6 on Thanksgiving. GameStop kept saying we weren't going to do it, and then guess what happened?
They did it.
They started doing it, and then they wanted us open from. Then we didn't close Thanksgiving. You had to be open 24 hours.
You would do the double shift, so you would work at 3 in the morning to like 6 in the morning, and then
come back at like noon or something.
Come back at noon. Yeah, it was
awful. So
it wasn't worth the pay. And then when they had the 40-hour thing, remember that? You're like, hey, if you can't be salary unless you're making like 50 grand.
They were working around one of the new rules.
Yeah, and they were like trying to plot and scheme their whole way.
They were trying to figure out a way that they didn't pay that full wage. They bumped us off salary to hourly, I think.
Yes.
Then at that point, that's when they changed that because it was a loophole around that new law. So, shady as shit. GameStop is very much dirty, tricky. I call it lame stop. I've shopped there 2 or 3 times, maybe 2 times since I left 3 years ago. I will not ever support them. They treated us awful. There are 2 entries that you can look up that I knew of, at least at one point. 2 entries in Wikipedia for companies that behaved awful during COVID. GameStop is one of them in there too, to the point where they had people in some of the riots making them stay in the store and basically defending the safe instead of their safety and defying local orders and telling cops we don't got to shut down. So that was that's GameStop. GameStop cares so much about its people, but it doesn't, and
not at all.
So what I'm gonna do here, GameStop more like GameSuck, exactly.
Yeah, GameSuck indeed.
So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna put the BRB up for a moment. I need to use the bathroom, of course. There's not gonna be music, but we'll be back in just a couple minutes. I'm just gonna use the bathroom, and then we're gonna jump into another topic. We're gonna talk about Transformers as a franchise generally, and kind of where that's gone, where that's been, and what we kind of want from it. So I will see you soon. All right, we're back. Thank you. We both needed a little break there. Briefly, I do need to add some music, I think, to that BRB screen. I was thinking about that today. Reach out to Ant House, see if I can get another sweet track from him as well, too. So, have you run across Jacob Fatu in wrestling at all on a personal level?
Yeah, yep. Back when he was in AAW, there was a couple times I ran across him. Really good dude. There was a time where I did this Legends of Wrestling show, and I had to do a spot with Rikishi and Rick Steiner, and I had to wrestle Rick Steiner, but Rick couldn't really wrestle, so we just kind of did some stuff.
Dog face gremlin.
Yeah, but Rikishi was asking about me. He was like, "Yeah, what?" Yeah.
See right there.
He was kind of like, "Oh, what's up with this guy?" And Jacob went to bat for me, so I thought that was really cool because there's a bunch of legends. They don't know if I can work. They don't know who I am, but Jacob went to bat for me, and just really cool guy, really nice guy. Him being this successful already does not surprise me. The guy's a freak athlete, and he just has that charisma, that energy, that intensity, and you instantly, everything he does just looks like awesome. And so you instantly, like, you're attracted to that right away. Dude's a star.
Cool.
And it's cool to see.
Yeah, that's cool to see. That
It's
one.
funny because I know Solo too. We follow each other on Instagram. When I used to do shows out in Vegas for Impact, he would be out there,
That's
and
gnarly.
we would just shoot the shit. He was always a nice dude.
You can tell that under all of it, I love what he's.
He's actually funny.
I've liked him since the get as well
Yeah.
too. Yeah, I feel like you almost kind of wonder if he was too, because when you're that serious, usually that means you're
Yeah,
pretty
he's,
funny. Then
if you ever
too.
seen some of his old tweets, he's actually really funny.
That's cool. That's cool. I love that. That's gnarly. And I, in my feels a little bit today, but also not fully in my feels because I do watch all the products. But congratulations to the Lucha Brothers for moving up to that big contract with
Yeah, man.
WWE.
Two more good dudes right there.
I'm more worried about them being more bottled in from their wrestling style in WWE as opposed to AEW. But that said, I think AEW did good by them most of the time.
Yeah.
I'm also a huge fan of Death Triangle. So like with him and Pac.
Oh yes,
Within
yes,
the
yes.
Pac, I thought. And what about Alex Marvez, or not Alex Marvez? Alex, their hype man. What's gonna happen to him? Is he going with the package? Probably not. But
Oh, if it's the guy I'm thinking of, he does a lot of backstage stuff.
yeah, I know it's
At AEW.
I love the Lucha Brothers. So overall, just like when my man Ethan Page, God, dude. Talk about seeing somebody out there thriving in the way that he should.
You should. Happy birthday to Ethan Page as well.
Happy birthday to Ethan
Yeah.
Page. You are the man. Appreciate everything that he's doing now in the NXT. It is awesome.
Yeah.
He is a fucking star. And listen, I'm a big AEW fan as well too. But shame on you guys for not doing that with him. He should have been.
I hate to say it, and I'm not trying to throw shade, but there's a lot of people
Yeah.
that they don't take, they don't use correctly.
They
We'll
need.
just say that.
Let's hope that the rumors with this app coming and everything with WB that's supposed to be like pretty lucrative, and maybe another TV show out there as well too. Let's hope finally that can change, because if you can get yourself on an app of some sort, that might change.
You got to use the right people, though. You can't continue to use the same people. And
Yep.
I think sometimes the problem is people will, like the higher ups, and talent wise, will view a certain show as like, well, this is beneath me. I don't want to be on that show. Like how AEW Dark was, you didn't see a lot of the big name guys on there, and if you did, it almost seemed like it was pulling teeth when they were back there. But not all of them. That's I'm not trying to say that, but that's where you have to build a lot of these mid card guys or guys that they're not using, and show the world that yes, they are stars, because fans are so fickle. Like if you're not being used or you're losing all the time, well, this guy sucks. When in reality, it's wrestling, guys. Like there's guys that get pushed to the moon that aren't that good. There's guys that don't get work at all that are really good. It's just how it is. Like there's really good people out there, but they're not good in people's eyes until someone's telling them that they're good, or showing them, or they're being used in a better way. It's just weird. It's just weird. People can't think for themselves.
I just wish AEW had better structure, and I think it's because we talk about all the time. I know, but TK needs to stop with the power grabbing. I mean, it's his company; he can do what he wants.
Yeah.
But my point is, he needs to like let loose a little bit on some of that. Like give some other people responsibility. Like I think sometimes you get blinders on. I do think lately it's been really good. I think they've been story building really good. The Hangman Adam Page and Swerve shit has been
It's great.
so
And those
good.
dudes are great.
Yeah, and Swerve's my guy right now in AEW. I don't think there's anybody right now that's active on the roster that is my favorite. I think Swerve's probably my favorite right now. But yeah, anyways, we could talk wrestling for a long time too.
Oh yeah.
Who knows, right? Transformers. Recently, Transformers 1 came out, and you had asked me this week. This is a new animated one that come out. You'd said, "Hey, did you see that? You gonna go see that?" And I'm like, "Nope." You're like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, it's a Bayverse prequel, not a G1 prequel, like I think we had wanted. And you were like, "Oh shit, I didn't know that." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I'm seeing."
Right.
Because I'm in a couple Transformers groups, and I do keep some of these groups around. Everything's toxic these days.
Yes.
I'm going to say this again. Anytime a wrestling group comes up, I instantly block it. I can't do anymore. I can handle the Star Wars ones somehow. Even then, I don't take part in them.
Yeah.
But the wrestling ones can't. The tribalism is awful in there. But anyways,
again, you can hear me talk about tribalism on Raju's rants on YouTube.
If you'd like that. If you'd like that link and you're listening to after this is live, you will see that in the description. But if you're live right now on Twitch, there's the link for you to click on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Always, brother.
But yeah, the tribalism is terrible.
It's awful. So, but it's like that in Transformers as well too, because when I started seeing it this week, because I wasn't sure originally, because it hasn't really been on my radar, and I will say why. I know this is geared towards children, and that's fine. There's a lot of things that I enjoy that is geared towards children, but also finds a way to still hook the adults. This movie to me just looks like it's attaching a bunch of voice people names on it.
I don't like that.
And the movie looks like it's a fucking straight up comedy. And I like levity in things, and Transformers has never really had a lot of levity. The robots kind of make sense.
Right.
So there is levity in them, but it's kind of like more like a dry humor, and it just kind of works. Listen, the G1 dialogue isn't anything to write home about. Scorsese isn't sitting there saying, "Oh, well, in episode 3 of Transformers,
so all are one."
Starscream is saying this. But that's where the comics did a lot of that work as well too, is really kind of tie in a lot of the adult themes and the crazy dialogue, the crazy background, stuff like that. But see, Russell's heard it's the best Transformers movie since the 80s
84.
version. Well, which hey, I will say, and what I will say to that is I don't doubt that. I actually don't doubt that. I think I think it always does. To me, at the end of the day, it's always better in animation for Transformers. But I also gotta wonder, like, how is that perspective? Like, where's that perspective coming from? How old are you? Like, where do you fall in that group? You know, are you a little bit younger? Are you know? Because for me, like, I don't want Optimus Prime running around smiling and telling a bunch of jokes.
Right.
Like, that's not really like. You know, for me, that's not how I envision Optimus. I don't know. I'm not saying that character can't have some levity.
Right.
But I'm saying is that there's a point where you humanize them so much that they're not even a robot anymore.
Right.
And I feel like there's a degree of it that needs to be separated a little bit. You know, so listen, I'm glad it's doing well, but I also don't like the Bayverse movies. I like the first one to a certain degree.
To a certain degree, yeah.
But like the Bayverse movies, like even the fucking one with the fucking like the Beast Wars.
I didn't see that one.
I was really excited about it. I saw it in the theater, and everything looked good, like gorgeous fucking movie. But like, it just fucking didn't work, man. And like, I didn't get enough. Like, if you're gonna do that, then just make it Beast Wars.
Did you like Bumblebee?
It was so. This was a sequel directly to the Bumblebee one. I struggled with that some too. It was cool what they tried to do, but it's.
I like that one.
It was all right.
Yeah.
This one really slipped and felt more like the other Bayverse ones. I feel like that was a soft spot to kind of get it going,
right?
A reboot or whatever you want to say. But I don't know. I struggle with that as well too, and I feel like ever since they've been in live action, they haven't ever figured out a way to make it right. Now that doesn't mean that they're for me necessarily, and I get it. I don't even like the action figures from those lines. I think they look too shredded, metally neat.
Yeah,
you always just said that.
Yeah.
That was your. I stole that from you, but you know that's how I look at it as well too.
Yeah.
And my point is that I don't have any interest seeing it. I'm not sitting around excuse me, I'm not really sitting around saying it's awful without seeing it, but I am saying that, yeah, and that's and I said that about the movies since 2005, is that I don't need Shia LaBeouf in here to be a human element in these things. There's always been
That's always been a big problem to me.
10% the human, like Spike and Dan or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, come on, Dano.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need the rest of that shit. Like, I want the robots. That's why, like, when Netflix did that the Cybertron series,
That was good.
well, the video games, High Moon did those two
Did you
video
like
games.
Transformers Prime? I think it was called.
Absolutely.
That was amazing.
That's one of the few reboots that it does every so often.
Yes.
That was like fucking. That's
Yeah.
actually probably in my top 3 or 4
Same.
renditions of Transformers. That had everything, a decent amount of levity.
Yes.
Because even the Beast Wars had a decent amount of levity.
Yep.
And that's fine. But like the trailers that I've seen for Transformers 1, when they're running down the hill, smiling and making jokes,
Yeah.
like that's not Transformers.
No,
For me.
from what I hear, and I don't trust a lot of critics, but there's like 3 of them that have felt the same way. When I saw this, I was like, this. I said maybe there's going to be for kids. There are 3 guys that I watch, and they said the same thing. They actually liked
That's
it.
what he is. That's what Russell's saying out right now. Is he's like, he's surprised the amount of creators our age or older who enjoyed the movie, and he was shocked. So let me say this,
Because from what I hear, it starts off that way, like oh god, this is like.
they're telling a background story
then-
of something we've wanted to see for a long time.
But then what they don't show you in the trailer is like the flip. So apparently that happens in this.
God damn it.
Yeah, so it does go from something happens to where Prime is like, oh, this fucking lame, he's like not, and the Megatron's the
is he
serious
is he a
one.
gladiator in that?
No, which I don't like. I think they're both like
Bayverse.
yeah, I don't like that because he's supposed to be the whole
That's what we
gladiator
want.
thing is yeah.
And this is 3 billion years before.
And like Megatron's already supposed to be established where Prime looks up to him in the original, like you know what I mean, like Megatron's already like on the weird political side.
Optimus has always been the reluctant hero.
Yes, and this is like they're buddies, and it's not like that. But apparently, it starts off like it's funny, but it gets serious.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna see it. I am gonna give it a chance because I didn't think it'd be any good. But then when I heard that, I was like, I'll give it a shot.
Let me ask
I totally understand.
Let me ask you
what
this,
you
then.
mean.
Let me ask you this: what if you wait to see it and it comes out in digital, or comes out, and we like, unless you really want to go see it in the theater, I'm not gonna tell you how you spend your money.
Mm-hmm.
But I say you wait to that point, we watch it, and then we talk about it.
I'm supposed to go with Gravy and my buddy John tomorrow. So if that falls through,
So I will go fuck myself. Clearly. So scratch that.
But
Scratch
that might fall through. So if that doesn't fall through, I'll wait and we'll do that.
If that's the case, then if you're gonna do that, maybe I will try to see it at some point soon, and we can have a conversation.
I'll let you know.
about it.
Yeah, yeah.
Or at some point we'll talk about it regardless.
Right. But I understand what you're saying because
Okay. I appreciate it, Russell, because that's
What's Russell saying?
He's saying the same thing. He's just mirroring. He said 10-15 minutes of the trailer stuff is it's jokey, and then it changes pretty fast.
that's what I heard. But I understand what you're saying because like I remember when I had this problem with the first X-Men, and I've tried to separate my mind from
See, I
certain
like
things.
X-Men.
I didn't like the first one. I do now. But I went in there like, this isn't this and this isn't that. So it's a little bit different. So like, I think it's different for like Star Wars and like Lord of the Rings, right? Compared to like comic book where there's multiple different universes.
Or renditions of characters.
Yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Video games to me, it's like, you're kind of, if it has the spirit of said video game and the essence and the, themes, then yes, but if it doesn't, then we're I don't like that. It's like that with Transformers. I didn't mind the Bay movies. Actually, no, I liked the first one. I liked Bumblebee. I didn't like any of the other ones because I thought it was just like Too Fast, Too Furious.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't. It was just.
I mean, it's literally a toy. Like, listen, and I get it too. And this is me saying this with all full knowledge. It was these movies were made as a toy company to sell fucking action figures.
Yeah, but even
that's how the cartoons were in the fucking 80s.
But even 84, when you watch 84, it was like
it was a huge fucking it had heart. A huge.
It had
production.
that's what it had heart and soul, and like
Right.
the Bay ones. Besides what I feel like Bumblebee in the first one. I don't feel like any of the other ones do.
No, they just don't. Like it's all like again,
And they don't respect
like the
Transformers.
bits in these movies don't fucking land. It's
No.
awkward and dumb.
The fucking
Too much.
twins
I'm
and the
sorry.
second
Too much
one?
human. I know.
Jesus.
Too much humans.
Yep.
Yeah, racial profiling characters or whatever. Like, fuck out of here. And the fuck
Yeah.
and we finally get what's his fucking name? The Constructicons.
Devastator.
We get Devastator.
Yeah, and he has balls.
And he's got balls. And he looks stupid as fuck.
Look very stupid.
Like what the shit? We just
Yeah.
can't do tradition. Like, I digress. Point is that it's been really hard to enjoy these movies because honestly they look cool. Like when you see like fucking Optimus Primal, that's fucking sweet looking.
Dude, it's Peter Cullen.
Yeah,
Like,
you know what I mean.
you know what I
Like,
mean?
you're getting all that good.
Yeah, and
so.
I think even I didn't mind Hugo Weaving as Megatron, but I think Frank Welker did Megatron later on again.
Yes,
it's like you can't.
He didn't originally.
You can't.
Hugo Weaving did it for the first one.
Yeah, and it's like
And I'm Megatron.
I like Hugo Weaving as Megatron too.
It was fine.
It's just to me it goes down to them not respecting what Transformers is, and they try to turn it into what they think it should be.
Yeah.
And it's like you can in a sense, but after a while I think you're getting away to what it is and what makes it. Now it's just become a product.
What I said recently is they've never gotten Optimus Prime right in live action a single time.
No, they make him like an asshole in a couple of those.
Even in the latest one, he's kind of like it's really weird. Like in the last Bayverse one, it was like really weird how he would behave. In 2005, I was like trying to enjoy this movie, and then he's trying to creep around a house, and then he does something, and then he says 2 words, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" He goes, "My bad."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my god, I was already dealing with Shia LaBeouf, so you're lucky I'm sitting there."
And Shia LaBeouf, like when I watched that again, he's on like
like
drugs.
it's too much, and and I just like I get that they're for a target audience. I understand that, and Russell's right. The '84 movie was to introduce a second line of characters, in toys. That didn't go over so well because you had children freaking out over Optimus Prime dying. No shit.
G.I. Joe, the movie got changed because of that.
Yeah, no shit. So. Which, by the way, they are moving forward with the live-action G.I. Joe and Transformers that they've been setting up for in the last. You didn't see the last movie.
No, but I heard about the Easter egg. However, from this movie, apparently the fact that it is all robots, that they learned that they can do the live-action movies and concentrate just on the robots.
There was still.
I mean, look at the Planet of the Apes movies.
Humans, but. Yeah. The Planet of the Apes movies.
Yeah. No, I mean like for moving forward. But I don't know how you won't be able to do that with G.I. Joe because G.I. Joe you're gonna have to concentrate on both. We'll see what they do with that.
But you're casting them for that role that they're playing.
Correct.
So
right.
Different, I suppose.
Right. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from, and I know a lot of people are like, well, you're gatekeeping. It's like, no, but you're not gatekeeping. You're gatekeeping if you don't have an open mind. You have an open mind to this. You've given these a chance. And you don't like them, I'm the same way. I've given these a chance, and it's just like I don't like this, and I hate that because you have that side of the fandom that's like in any fandom nowadays, is that they're over positive, they're too positive, toxic positive.
Well, they're
and like you having this opinion is like, well, it's not for you. Like this, this is you are a part of the fan base that has kept this shit going for 40 years. So
yeah, you should fucking
like people. They miss that. Like
the fiddler.
Yeah, it's like you don't have to cater the movie just to you, but you have to make a movie that is going to include everyone.
Yeah, get the casuals in. I get that. But you got to remember, some of us have been buying your fucking toys since the fucking 80s and 90s.
Exactly. A lot of fans forget this shit. They're like,
I don't have any Transformers near me right now.
It's not for you old fans. It's like, what the fuck do you think has waved your flag? He-Man, Transformers, any property from the 80s, they forget this. And they try to make it, they try to turn these franchises into something that it's not. And then when the already established fan base shits all over it, and they're like, I don't like this. This is that. This is this. They blanket statement everybody and then categorize you as something. They start to label you. And it's like, that's not fair. And like, because some fans are like that, but some fans, they just don't like it because it doesn't have the same
Right.
essence. And Transformers has been that way. Now, if I used to be a very diehard Transformer fan, but I stopped after the Bay films because I couldn't defend that, and I couldn't get into it. So I'm like, well,
Yeah.
if this is how it's going to be, I have to walk away from it. Now I've tried to walk away from Star Wars because of that. I feel the same way about like most current Star Wars, but it's like you have to remember you're bringing something back from the 80s, and we'll talk about Cobra Kai, I'm sure, at some point here. You're bringing something back that already has an established fan base. You want to introduce it to a new audience. You cannot cut off that hand. You cannot cut off that limb that is that already established fan base that has been holding you up this entire time. You have to cater to them somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they don't like it, you can't shit all over them because guess who's not coming back? And guess who kept coming back for all the toys, all the merch, the repeated movie viewings, watch the cartoons, not your general audience, your diehard fans.
Right.
And your diehard fans are important. I know people are like, well, you can't listen to the fans. Sonic the Hedgehog, they listen to the fans, and those movies have been supported ever since.
Yep.
So if
Pretty
you,
awesome.
you know what I mean, you can't sit there. You can call it gatekeeping, but it's not gatekeeping. No one's saying, "Oh, we don't want new fans." We're just saying, honor what brought you to the dance.
Right.
Terminator failed on that.
Halo TV series.
Predator failed on that for a while, and we'll pray they went back to the roots.
Halo TV series.
Halo TV series. Rings of Power. A lot of the new Star Wars shit. It's all failed on that because you have people that The Witcher. Which we can get in that conversation too. We can transition to that. But we'll get into that. But like, so that's where Transformers is. And when I saw this, same thing. I saw that trailer. So I had the same thing. I'm like, this is.
Yeah,
I don't know what direction they're trying to go.
Now that I've got a couple of nerds like you and Russell saying you're hearing good things on that sense of it, maybe I'll give it a little bit of extra love. But
yeah,
Tricky mentioned about the toys. Yeah, Transformers as a toy right now. Like, I don't. There's people that do the plastic and the die casting. I don't give a shit about that. They're fucking gnarly nowadays. I still buy some of that stuff. I mean, they're doing the generations and doing different stuff. I don't buy a ton of that stuff because I really focused only on the Masterpiece line as I got older, which is the bigger ones and some of the sweeter ones.
That's awesome.
But it's all like based on G1 and that look as well too. So I don't really dive into the Bayverse figures at all, honestly. Shit, I didn't even like Grimlock look stupid too, but. Again, like I said, like we've had we've had people that show us they can do it. They can preserve the old shit and bring in the old fans and bring casual fans. High Moon did it with 2 video games. Fall.
Yes.
Cybertron, War of Cybertron, and Fall of Cybertron.
Yes.
Some of the best pieces of Transformers has ever come out, including the War of Cybertron series that you can see on Netflix.
It keeps the essence.
It does.
Transformers.
It does. So I don't understand why the live action all of a sudden is a change from that. That's the weird thing.
You know why?
Yeah, you know.
It's because you have executives, and so a lot of people. That's why Clone Wars and Rebels was always good, and the animated Star Wars was on fire for years because you don't have the same set of eyes looking at that stuff unless it's going to a movie theater. So the suits don't have their hands in it, needing this, that, and the other. And it's funny when people always say, "Well, this stuff is for kids," guys. Toy Story 3 is for kids, but Toy Story 3 and just the Toy Story series, Monsters, Inc., Inside Out, they're 4-quadrant movies. So in other words, they're made for everybody, okay? Now, Heathcliff is made for fucking kids. Garfield is made for fucking kids, where it's like dumb storytelling, shitty acting, stuff like that, where that's made for kids. But when you have stuff like Moana and top tier Pixar, that's made for everybody. They can say it's made for kids, but it's a 4-quadrant movie where it's universal. Okay, that's the difference. I hate when people are like, "Well, it's not made for you." Guys, there's a difference. If it relates to everyone, that's where you're going to get your money. Unless it's strictly for kids and the parents are taking their kids to go see it, there's a big difference. But there's a reason why why it begins that way. Yeah, sure, it's a kids movie. but it's a family movie, and,
Right.
and people that are adults are the ones that are crying in that first 15 minutes of that movie because that's life and that hits them hard. But it's made for everybody, and that's why Transformers. You have us who grew up with it, and then the War for Cybertron.
We're sitting here crying about it on a podcast.
Right, but the thing is, it evolved. Those Cybertron games and that cartoon evolved for us. If you could do that with live action, I can guarantee you're going to bring in the universal, your general audience as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's where these corporate executives and all that stuff, they're not thinking about that. They're blind. They're out of touch. And you can see that with almost any main franchise right now. They're out of touch. Marvel is the only one that's trying to reel it in that I see and course correct, where you have all these other people doubling and tripling down on their stupidity.
Okay. Well, I agree on a lot of that. I feel like,
Masters of the Universe.
You got to bring in everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, Masters of the Universe, I feel like, is probably a touchy subject. I actually like the new 2 that came out. I know that you're not.
No.
We can save that for another day, because I think that might actually be one where
I won't watch it, so probably
yeah,
not.
yeah. Well, I'm just saying, I feel like I'm usually objective enough to where I feel like I could defend that comfortably, and we can have that fist fight that day on that one.
Hopefully the movie will be good.
We'll see. We'll definitely see. Russell says he's got a conspiracy. I feel like I've either heard this or maybe I'm just making this up, but I really like this one, and I'm not a conspiracy guy. He thinks that the ugly Sonic was never the plan. They were just afraid the movie wouldn't go over well, so they released a good Sonic as planned, and fans thought they won.
Possibly.
Maybe I don't know.
If they Jedi mind trick fans, everybody won though, because you got people coming to see your movie, and then you have,
and it's been enjoyable.
They've
been enjoyable.
Jim Carrey really helps.
You're absolutely right, and it's not like that these games ever had a diverse background story at all, and the movies keep it just simple enough, to where it just works and makes sense. Now the Knuckles TV series, fucking
I heard that was
fucking doo-doo butter.
Yeah.
And that's not Idris Elba's fault. He got handed a script. That's all it was.
That sucks.
The movies are enjoyable, and I'm really excited about it. So, but I want to transition out of Transformers. You've been kind of hinting on it. So, but before we do that, I got to get just 2 things from you. And I say this because I relate this every time you ever play the game Worms? Like Worms Armageddon?
Yes.
Worms. It's
Long
2D.
time ago.
I'm a huge fan of it, and you can always build 2, 4 player, or you can build 4-player teams, and you can always name them. I always named them Autobots and Decepticons were the first 2 I'd always do. Sometimes I would do wrestlers, but that's always going. So, what I ask you, what is your favorite 3 Decepticons? And then your favorite 3 Autobots. And if you'd rather just say my favorite 3 Transformers, if that's easier, that's fine too.
I'd say Megatron, Starscream, and Soundwave.
Say it again.
Megatron, Starscream, Soundwave.
Okay.
I've always loved how different those 3 are. I always thought Megatron was a great badass leader, especially later on, like Prime.
That's when he in Beast Wars fuses his spark with the original Megatron. Becomes Red Dragon Megatron. Shut the fucking door at that point.
And Megatron, when Transformers got serious, he was scary.
Yeah.
Like you were like, you're fucked.
Well, he pieced out Optimus.
Yes, and he was. I also love Starscream because he's like that perfect heel. He's such a piece of shit. Like you hate him, but you love him.
Yeah.
And he has all the potential in the world. And then you have, in my opinion, probably one of the most valuable Transformers that's always been in the game. That's Soundwave.
Yeah.
He's always been, but I like his loyalty. But there's a lot that I never got into, like in the comics, like with Scorponok and
comics. That's how Scorponok got so
Shockwave.
Yep.
Like Shockwave was really important.
My top 5 probably. Big fan of Shockwave.
Optimus Prime, he's my top 5 heroes. Like in wrestling, we call like white meat baby faces. Like they're just heroes. Like they're the epitome of a good guy.
Of the
yes,
light.
like Obi-Wan Kenobi's like an epitome of the light. That's how Optimus Prime is. And a lot of times, a good hero is just kind of cheesy. Like Superman to me is cheesy, right? I like Superman, but he's like cheesy. No. Optimus, I would fight for Optimus Prime.
Ironically, Optimus as Optimus Prime is a character that I think you or I probably look up to more than real
Yes.
people.
Yes, dude.
Honestly, like
Dude, Optimus is.
he's
I got
a symbol
goosebumps just
of-
thinking about
of
that.
hope.
Yes, he is.
For all sentient
Yeah.
beings.
Oh, jazz. But Optimus is. He's like. Out of heroes, he's top 5 for
Yeah,
me.
hands down. That's easy.
He might even be number 1. I'd have to rethink that list, but Optimus is.
Kurt Angle's probably in there somewhere.
Oh, Kurt Angle's one of my favorite heels. But Grimlock, love Grimlock. I always loved Grimlock just because I never liked it when he was like big dumb Grimlock. I like it when he was take no shit Grimlock.
Yeah, Blue Eye Grimlock.
Yes, I like that because he reminds me of the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
But like Smart Hulk, kind of. Not Smart Hulk, but like savage
he's
but
gotta
smart.
Get that Banner Hulk feel.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's good.
And then, honestly, just because as a kid I thought he was so cool, Blaster.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I think Scatman Crothers was his voice, and he was always rhyming. No, that was Jazz. So maybe, you know what, Jazz actually might be. Yeah, no, Jazz the moon bass too. Jazz the moon bass too.
Well,
Jazz.
okay.
I really like Jazz.
So so there's 3 and 3. So
Or shit, RC. RC was badass too.
yeah,
she was
you're
sweet.
a pervert. So I'm going. Here's
That's a given. But,
here's
you know.
top 3 Decepticons. I'm going to rank as well too.
Okay.
Number 1 for me will always be Bruticus.
Ooh.
I'm a super fan of Bruticus.
Okay.
I love the entire small arc of Starscream getting kicked out of Decepticons, getting those sparks, putting them in the Combaticons, and Bruticus whipping some ass. Love that
Nice.
shit.
Nice.
And then that's one of the biggest pieces of my collection still too. Second would most definitely be Soundwave.
Yes.
I love Soundwave.
Ravage eject.
I was obsessed
What a cool action
with that
figure.
character. Yeah, yeah, that masterpiece over there is gnarly as fuck. Gnarly as fuck. That is one of my favorite all-time, like, I think bad-ish characters in any mythos is just, it's fucking Soundwave, man. Like, I was just obsessed with all the cassette tapes and all the shit he has. And then the way he talked. Megatron.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, eject, yes. Rampage, eject. Laserbeak. Yep. Third would be Megatron for sure.
Yes.
It's weird to say he's putting Megatron in the top 3, but at the third, I know but like I said, like he is just like Optimus is one of the greatest heroes of all time.
Yeah.
Megatron is one of the greatest villains of all time.
Yes.
Just I can't explain what it is about him, and I always go back to it wasn't even so much the G1 thing, but for me it was really Beast Wars and that whole arc of him, because Beast Wars it had so many moments of adultness in it,
Mm-hmm.
but when he fucking fused that spark and became Red Dragon Megatron, and I was a kid at that time, I was big into D&D, I've always been obsessed with dragons, that fucking blew my mind. I'm like, I'm watching Transformers, and they're going from prehistoric dinosaurs, and this motherfucker just pops out as a goddamn red dragon. Shut the fuck up. Still have that fucking figure from the 90s cartoon in there as well, too. But so that's my Decepticons. Top 3 Autobots, easy. Grimlock, me Grimlock. Obsessed with dinosaurs as a kid, of course, so that's why it's Grimlock. I love the character, everything about it. The Hulk thing makes sense. That's probably another reason why, because Hulk's one of my favorites. So I'm gonna go with him. Second is definitely Optimus. And I'm ranking as Autobots, not as like heroes. That's a different
Right. No, it is.
I absolutely love Optimus. Like I said, like just I grew up around. My grandpa's a truck driver, so semi trucks, easy. Third is Jazz, actually.
Hey.
Because why? Jazz is the one that created the Dinobots.
Wasn't it Wheeljack?
Mm-mm.
Was Jazz?
Jazz.
Man, that's sweet.
Oh no, it is Wheeljack.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm mixing them up. Fuck me.
Yeah.
I mean Wheeljack, not Jazz. Jazz was awesome. I'm talking about Wheeljack.
Yes.
Wheeljack.
Wheeljack was, and he was also a
Wheeljack
cool ass car too.
He was the professor. Yeah. He's
Yes.
that what is it, like a Porsche Sport or something?
Yes,
like
he had the. Yeah,
Yes.
dude.
Sorry, I
Wheeljack
can't
was
believe I
sweet.
just mixed that up. That makes me look like a jackass. I'm gonna stop.
This jackass.
Yes, no, Wheeljack is the third. So for that, so that's the fun stuff. That's Transformers. We love Transformers. Please,
Gotta
do
be
more.
stupid. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Bobby, Nitty Bob.
Oh, cup.
But yeah, no, I just wish that the live action could have been more. And it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Because as you see, as we transition to kind of close out our conversation tonight, franchises in general, And watching franchises either try to maintain, try to reboot, and how good or bad really they do in that sense as well too. And it comes to what you said when it comes to the way they pander to all fans, your core fans.
Right.
And we're going to start this out just briefly to say there's already, and we've said this on Banter and Babble many times. You've said it on Banter and Babble many times.
Said it
We
everywhere.
always say it is that the best example for anybody to reboot an old franchise, follow what Cobra Kai did.
Hands down.
They did it the best way you could. Now, I can say after 6 seasons, it's definitely a little bit tougher. Yes, it's CW drama. I get all that. And it's
Right.
It's a little bit harder, but the heart of it is still there.
Correct.
And they're the only reason they could go 6 seasons is because they've done a great job of making character arcs be so important and integral to the series. Whether it's Daniel, whether it's Johnny, doesn't matter the character. Maybe it's even his kids. They come back and forth. It shows that life is ever changing, evolving, and you're always growing. And it's an amazing thing that I don't think enough people realize about Cobra Kai. Yes, we're getting Cobra Kai, so we're getting to see Strike First, Strike Hard, No Mercy, Sir. We're getting to see all these great characters. We're getting to see Daniel. But at the core of it, it has the essence and the heart that made those movies as we were growing up so great and has maintained that the entire time.
Yes. Totally agree.
But there are plenty of things that are annoying these days, which is remakes. Remakes are fucking annoying to a degree. Some have been good, some have been okay, some are unnecessary. I haven't seen The Crow, and I probably won't watch The Crow.
No, negative. Big negative.
No. Hilary Swank better show up in this next season. You're darn tootin'. I agree with that as well too.
Yeah, she should.
I know. Like I actually didn't mind her Karate Kid as I just didn't like the one with
Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan teaches
Kung Fu,
and they call
big
him
difference.
Karate Kid.
Yeah.
How do you even think that's an okay thing? Like, come on.
They don't think. That's
They
the
don't think.
problem.
They don't think.
And
They don't
Jackie
think.
probably just wanted the paycheck and to work with Will Smith's kid.
Or the other way around.
Yeah.
So,
Jacket on. Jacket off.
Jacket off. Jacket off. What?
Oh, he's up there.
Right. So that said, franchises as we've seen like Transformers and many things. I mean, we could talk, and we easily could, but like when you look at Rings of Power, when you look at fucking the way they've handled Star Wars over the years that we complain about nonstop.
Yeah.
But what are some franchises you feel like that, first of all, need rebooting? And how do you see a way or a gateway for that?
I think a good example of rebooting a franchise, Terminator did it with I don't know if you guys have seen Terminator Zero, the animated
Very
series. They do such a good way of staying away from Terminator, like the whole Terminator lore, without really changing too much, but
it's still like Terminator.
yeah, but they still interweave it because it's Terminator. It has to do with time, right? So just because it doesn't take place in the same time, different timelines, all this stuff. So they kind of mess with it, but they keep the heart and the soul of Terminator. So like the Terminators in this are scary. They're cold. They're merciless. And just the way it's done, like the first few episodes, I'm like, oh, it's just like a generic anime. But it gets really good. And I think with that could be your jumping point to create new movies. You're never going to touch Arnold, okay? 1 and 2, they're just... You can't replicate that. That's why I think Prey did also a really good job. You can't replicate the first Predator. The first Predator is a masterpiece. And I know a lot of people are like, it's just a bunch of dumb muscle heads, yada yada yada. That's the point. And they get slaughtered, right? And they're getting slaughtered by something that's bigger and better than them. Because in the 80s, late 90s or early 90s, that's what it was about. Big jacked up, roided up dudes were like the badasses. But then you throw these guys into a jungle and they're getting killed by the unknown. That's the twist. And Arnold barely makes it out alive. Prey does a really good job of keeping that same heart and soul of Predator, but making its own thing. So is Terminator, this animated series. So I think those are good jumping points for that. And I think Alien Romulus is a good example of that, to where it's still, I think it paid a little bit too much with the callbacks.
I think there's a discussion there. I kind of agree with that.
But it's still overall, it's really good.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, we can build off of this and go into a different direction with Alien. I would like to see, and it just depends on who's in charge of it. I would love to see Thundercats, Silverhawks.
Thundercats,
Yeah. Maybe Darkwing Duck.
So Darkwing's been getting rebooted comic-wise again. There was just a big Kickstarter recently for that as well too.
I think they could do something with animation with that.
So you're saying, okay, so you're saying like specifically with the animation.
I think if you got to put it on the screen, small screen or big screen, because comics are one thing, but like comics get lost in the shuffle.
I have a lot of stuff
mainstream.
I agree. I think that would be Darkwing is one of the best. If like I said, and I know we've talked about this when you were on last time, it's one of the best Disney cartoons that ever had been. It's incredible. So yeah, I would be fully on board with that.
Yeah, and there's probably a few more.
Yeah, the Thundercats reboot was tight and cut short. I heard that.
I liked that. A lot of people didn't like it,
you were the one that kept telling me to watch it.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. I thought that was well done, and that got I think one season.
Yeah.
But I liked it, but it didn't get enough. Same thing with Dark Crystal. Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance.
Oh, we got fucked on that one.
But and I go back to it's this. Okay, so people like they try to this whole thing with the Acolyte, right? Dark Crystal was actually really good, and it was loved by both critics and fans. However, it was super expensive, and it did not get the views it needed. So therefore, it's not going to get a season 2. It's that simple. But Age of Resistance was a fucking masterpiece. The soundtrack, the puppets, the acting, the story.
So fucking
it was
good.
And it got so dark so quick, and you're just like, there was times I'm watching this, I'm just like, yeah. But there's times I'm like, this is rough.
It was so
this is rough. Yeah,
good.
But it just, you're dealing with puppets, and they deal with, it was all practical, and it was super expensive.
That was so much more expensive because you wouldn't think.
But like, it was like the sets they had, and
that's true. It's the sets. It's all that,
and it was very elaborate. But like, I hear like there's a Labyrinth rework, but see, it depends on what they do with the reboot. I'm not a fan of
that they want to do. They want Toby, the character from Labyrinth, like that's gonna be involved is maybe Toby.
Who's Toby? Like the kid?
Toby was the kid. Toby.
Oh,
I mean, for the baby.
That might be cool. And
that's what I'd heard. I don't know if that's accurate.
The reboots for me though, it's like if they reboot or remake something, stop. And I know this bothers me. Stop race swapping. Stop gender swapping. As a person of color, I like Black Panther. I don't need a black Superman. I don't need a black Clark Kent. You can give me is it Kal-El or there's a black Superman, but it's not Clark Kent. I hate that shit. I don't want to see a white Blade. I feel like it's demeaning when they do stuff like that. I can't stand that. And like Jenna Ortega had said something recently, stop giving females male roles. Like she doesn't want to see a Jamie Bond. Give us something.
Start doing something new.
New. That's my thing. Because to me, that's so lazy.
It is.
And you're only doing it to pander. Now, sometimes it does work. But as of late, it's done so much. You're just pandering. And you're just checking a box. And it's not authentic to me. To me, it's insulting.
The female Doc Ock was pretty cool in the Spider-Verse.
She was awesome. So sometimes it does work.
Sometimes
you know what I mean?
But yeah, I think that's fair. And I like, listen, I can't really speak on that as much because I'm fucking carbon copy white guy, bald, bearded, and look, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but a lot of white people champion that shit to
and I am kind of one of those ones. I do like to see
I think sometimes it just goes overboard.
But I'm the same. But I also like. Again, this is where I always try to be. I'm trying to be objective about the whole thing. Like,
right.
I also don't want it shoved down my throat and me that.
Correct.
Because if this is what I say. It's always good for that sort of stuff, but don't make it so it's more important than the story. Either.
Yes, and don't
let the story suffer because of it. And you have it all there.
If the person auditions for the role and they knock it out of the park, awesome. But if you're like Sigourney Weaver, Ripley could have been a dude.
Yeah.
It could have been either way, but she just was great and she killed it.
And
So it's like because the character was important, not the gender or the color or whatever. I hate that shit. So like you said, if it's about the story still, awesome, excellent. But if you're trying to check boxes and that's what you're promoting, you've already lost
And
me,
that's-
because
that's
that's disingenuous to
Yeah,
me.
and that's what's I think where a lot of people when it comes to the franchise. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of incels out there too.
There are a lot of
and
incels.
That's again the opposite of the extremes of those two things as well too. So it's a slippery slope when you're doing these sort of things with reboots. Again, I think remakes are for the most part pretty awful. Like I don't want to see the Labyrinth remade. You're never going to be able to capture that magic again. RoboCop 2014 was all right. I
Yeah.
actually don't hate it like some folks.
I don't hate it,
but I
but
also don't love it.
No.
I'm pretty open about it. I think to a degree, but like the recent Crow, everybody knows how I feel about that. Want nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
You know, and like you've got.
And I like that actor.
Yeah, I love Skarsgård. Who
Yeah.
doesn't? But like, you know, even the Mortal Kombat movie, which
Fuck, dude.
yeah, the first Mortal Kombat movie that came out on HBO, like there was a lot of good things that they had, especially the first 15 minutes of that when they were dealing with Scorpion and Sub-Zero.
Yeah.
But the rest of the movie was a fucking they wedged in some made up character out of nowhere that's never been there
Horrible
for 30 years.
made up character.
The story was awful. You had Goro fighting in a trailer park. You know what I mean? That's never been a background in my fucking Mortal Kombat games.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like the Mortal Kombat games are pretty fluid about time and dimensions. They have been, especially the most recent couple. But when you're making these things, you don't have to move away so far. Adaptions have to happen, but don't move so far away from the product that it doesn't even feel like it's the same thing anymore.
Yes.
And that comes right back around circle to how they treat casual fans and how they create or how they treat core fans.
Yes.
The reboots and the remakes and all this shit needs to be toned down. Hollywood's too scared to make a new IP. That's what I've been seeing from from people online and different like actors. And I think Vince Vaughn talked about it on Hot Ones recently about why they don't do the comedies like they did, 10 or 15 years ago, and he said because Hollywood's so caught up basically in scared to do new IPs and failing. Look at D3 this year, D23. It was all fucking franchises with sequels.
Yes.
You stop and think about that.
I remember when I saw that, I was like, this is terrible.
It's all sequels and old IPs.
Yes.
There's nothing new about it.
Nope.
Because they're too scared because right now the way it works in the world is if you do or don't like something, you're on two sides of the hill.
Yes.
And it's toxic on both of them. So so Disney is too scared to figure out what lane they're going to be able to roll. And that's just kind of where we're at right now, and it kind of sucks.
It does, and it goes like you have with The Witcher, for example, the lady that was in charge of The Witcher, that's one of the reasons why Henry Cavill quit, is because you have these people that get these IPs, these well-established franchises, and they don't like the source material, and so they change it.
Keep talking.
And
use the bathroom real quick.
Okay, so they changed the source material, and with Henry Cavill, he left because she was changing all of the Witcher stuff. Beau DeMayo was, I believe, he was on that too. I think he left as well. That's why when he did X-Men '97, one of his rules was I only want people on this project that like X-Men, that are fans of the source material. And for whatever reason, you have these people that are coming in and they're touching franchises and they think they can do better than what's already established. When you have people that have zero writing credits coming on and taking on a Tolkien project and they're like, oh, well, we're going to make this for a modern audience. It doesn't need to be changed. It doesn't need to be changed because Tolkien's already timeless. It's universal. Everyone relates to it. And so now you're coming in saying, well, I can do this better. You can't. And so now all you're doing is putting out, and there's nothing wrong with if someone enjoys it, okay? That's not what I'm saying, because a lot of people are like, well, I can't enjoy it. No, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's a reason why a lot of people hate it. It's because you're changing the very fabrication of what that is. You're changing the very themes and foundation of why it worked. Same thing for the Acolyte. You start playing around with the Force. You start playing around with the Jedi. When things like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars are pretty much good versus evil, and then you make everything ambiguous and gray, you're taking away part of it. It's high fantasy. You're escaping. It's not, oh, these guys are really bad. These good guys are really bad. No, You can take one person and make them gray. You can take maybe these couple people, but once you start to change the whole philosophy of what's already established, you have a large amount of people because both of these franchises have huge fan bases. So you have a good chunk of these people being pissed and they start to speak out and lash out. But then when you have the media and people that work for these franchises and actors and directors saying, well, you guys are just trolls. You guys are horrible fans. Well, guess what? Those fans aren't going to go away. They're going to get louder. And then it becomes a stupid culture war of bullshit between two sides of the fandom while the people with the money stir the pot. That's the dumb part about it. And then we can't enjoy shit because the stuff that gets criticized, they're just going like this, la, 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 because they think their shit don't stink. And so they're not going to make a better product. Now, things might change at Lucasfilm because they lost a shit ton of money with The Acolyte. Okay? So now when you start losing money, that's when the people with the money start to think like, well, we need to change something. When Marvel started losing money
Right.
in Phase 4, they're like, well, shit, we got to stop trying to push this, all these different things, these people and putting people with certain political views and ideologies. Like, nobody cares about that stuff. We see that on social media every day. When I watch something, I want to escape. I don't want to be reminded. When I watch a product, when I watch certain product nowadays, or I don't want to say product, when I watch certain TV shows or certain movies, what used to be an escape and what used to be a universal message and what used to be timeless is now a product of its time. It's not the same thing. I can go back and watch the old Hobbit cartoon. It's timeless. I can watch the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings, even though they don't follow the book that well. It's timeless. I can go watch the original Star Wars trilogy. It's timeless. I can watch Rocky. It's timeless because that's a universal story. Doesn't matter who you are. Doesn't matter what you are. Doesn't matter what you claim. You can relate to someone in that story, regardless of their gender, their color, whatever, because it's universal and it's timeless. So now everything has to get a political message behind it and has to have someone's beliefs and someone's this, that, and the other. And now it becomes a product of its time and you lose everything that makes that franchise special.
Yeah. I think social media is a big part of why that is, I think, the way it is now.
It is.
So there's a lot of things I think you could dive into and pull apart of why or how and like how hive mind mentalities operate and things in that nature as well too. But it's frustrating for sure. I think that it's a bummer that media is so worried about certain things. And again, I'm somebody who does like a lot of like positive changes in social commentary. The difference is people forget Disney cartoons and Pixar has always had social commentary, but they didn't put it on a flashing board and say, guess what, this movie you're coming to see is going to be social commentary, because it's supposed to be something that I feel like you either naturally is integrated into it, and it's something that you learn throughout the movie, whereas now they wear it on their sleeve. And I get it to a degree. There needs to be that proud moment of it. But what's happened is that because we're so worried about that portion of it, the content suffers because of it, because we're focused on the wrong things at the wrong time. That stuff's important. If you want that to be part of it, there are plenty of things out there that do it right, that make it so that stuff is prevalent. But the problem is when you're saying it sometimes out loud, either people react to it or it ends up showing in the content that it suffers because of it.
Yeah, I think Fallout did a really good job of mixing everything together, like the TV show.
Right, because you had a character as a female, a main character, and normally if you had a main character that was a female, you'd get a lot of toxicity of it.
She was a good character. She was just a good character.
I didn't see anything out there.
No,
for me, it doesn't bother me like that at all. But like, I'm surprised I didn't see hardly any of that.
Andor was very diverse, had a lot of themes of politics, but it was all interwoven into the Star Wars universe. So, and it was so good. If you make something that's good, people are going to shut up.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And one of the biggest problems is that we all have an emotional attachment to sometimes.
Yeah.
So some people will have an emotional attachment to having diversity and these things, right? But then some people will have an emotional attachment to the franchise itself. So when one of the things gets messed up or is attacked, whoever that has that emotional attachment has these such strong feelings for it that we just butt heads. And so instead of listening to this person, well, I didn't like it because this reason, this person just thinks like, well, you're just this, or I liked it for this reason, well, you just liked it because of that. And we're not listening to each other. We're just butting heads because that emotional attachment is there. I used to be like that with the Star Wars prequels. I hated them. I was like, these fucking suck. This isn't, how could you do this? And then after a while, I'm like, okay, I don't like these movies. I don't think they're good movies. I don't like them. I don't think they're good movies, but it is a through line story. It's an A, B, and C. And I can take away from it. I can take some enjoyment away from it.
Which is, they always say it's the rise of Vader, but from a certain point of view, it's also an Obi-Wan story. Because he has growth the entire time, too.
Yes, which is, and the acting, the dialogue, or I should say delivery of dialogue.
That's the problem.
Yeah, because you can have shitty dialogue and it's still good.
Yeah.
Like, look at most wrestling promos. A lot of that dialogue is shitty, but if, what I always use, I think I used it last time, if you've ever seen Iron Claw, there's a guy that plays Ric Flair, and he's terrible.
God.
But he does a Ric Flair promo word for word. Now, when you see that, you're like, this is horrible. But then when you see Ric Flair cut that promo, you're like, this is fucking awesome. It's just the delivery of the dialogue. It's the same thing in The Acolyte, right? The Acolyte has some really shitty dialogue, but Manny Jacinto and Lee Jung Jae did a really good job delivering it, whereas Amandla Stenberg did a horrible job of delivering it. So it's like, and then in Ahsoka, Ray Stevenson, the late Ray Stevenson, everything he said sounded like Shakespeare. But then when you had Ahsoka and Sabine saying things, it sounded like they were just reading
awkward.
it. Yeah.
It was awkward.
But it's like so for the prequels, there was a lot of issues with it, but I'm not like that anymore because I don't want to sit there and say, well, you're dumb for liking it, or this isn't Star Wars. Like, even with the sequels, I don't like the sequels. I hate the sequels. If people like it, cool. But I think they dropped the ball with it, and I have valid points on why I think that. And a lot of people that I know that used to like the sequels don't anymore because they're like, yeah, they see other things that came out, like especially when Mandalorian came out, they're like, wait a minute. And then they started integrating like Ahsoka and other characters from like the cartoons. They were like, well, why the hell did we do this? Like, the sequels seem like a whole different world. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like a whole different thing.
Well, I mean, it's a big galaxy and a far, far away.
Right?
And like, it's good to have those pockets and stories. Not all characters are going to crisscross, but
they don't need to either.
Yeah, they don't. But it just comes down to heart again. That's why Rebels is still the best piece of Star Wars that's ever been put out.
I totally believe that. I think Rebels is.
It's just got a lot.
Season
of heart.
2 was tremendous.
It's got a lot of heart, and that's why the Clone Wars really, for the most part, are better probably than the prequels. There's some great things that happen in the prequels, but they made the prequels watchable. So,
and that's what they're watchable. Yeah,
they're watchable now. So, but I'm just happy Finn and Lando weren't related. Yeah, they really wanted to hint that hard as well too. I'm bummed that Finn didn't get his just deserved on that one too.
Again, and that goes to
they completely.
Well, even just the
misled you on that.
Well, that's not even. That goes down to Lucasfilm. I don't trust anything current that's coming out with Star Wars because you have the same people in charge. And I don't mean just Kathleen Kennedy. I mean from everybody there.
Yeah.
And so I don't believe they know what they want Star Wars to be, what it is, and how to make it relevant because everything is just like all over the place.
They want it to make sense. They want to give justice to the reason they bought it, and they've not done a good job of handling it at that point because they've cared more about the return on that than they did about creating good product. And authentically, when you create a good product or story, we'll say, that's when the rest will follow. And that's been part of the problem with that. And with a lot of things as well, too, when you do these reboots and remakes. All I'm saying is stop at the remakes, especially if they're cult classic or super great ones. Like
so you don't want anything to be rebooted or retouched?
I don't mind reboots. Cobra Kai to me is, and I know there's another word in there too, whether it's a reset, but
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something
shit,
where I
yeah.
always do that. Blanco was good on that as well too. Yeah, it was very reactionary. Russ, when they bought Star Wars, as we know, we've heard the people that said, "Hey, we want to sit down and create a story."
Michael
create art,"
Lundgren, he said, "Give me 3 years," and
and they said,
to
"No,
create a whole
we need
trilogy.
something out right away." And
Yep.
that's not how you handle something like Star Wars, and it shows
No, it showed.
in the
Yeah.
long run. But at the end of the day, it's just got to be done well. I don't mind reboots. Cobra Kai came out of nowhere and did a great job of it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so if there's something out there, I don't really have anything directly that I feel like that I want rebooted or anything. I just don't really like remakes because very few remakes, like if it's a reason when it's after the 90s, I feel like the 90s started finding this stride that came out of the 80s of the action movie films that were can't be dialogue
Yeah.
and all about action. That the 90s really found it where like those movies can like be more hybrid and evolve. So like certain things just don't need it. You don't Labyrinth is amazing as it is.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Doesn't need to be touched.
look at something that didn't do well critic wise or viewership wise. Maybe that's something that we should remake and then see if we can actually give life to a story that didn't get enough love. Dune, I like the original Dune movie.
Aw, deep.
I do, but like, you know what I like more? Them putting more love into the Dune
Yeah.
series right now. And that's not for everybody. I know it's slow and boring for some, but
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I fucking love it. Remake bad movies and video games. I mean, shit. Finally, Soul Reaver has gotten some air into it because
Wait, what?
Soul Reaver, yeah, the Kickstarter just ended. They got a bunch of novella or graphic novels.
Oh, I want a new game.
That there's rumors of that because they've seen some things going on with the IP on the game side as well too, like a remaster of some of those OG games, which would be amazing.
Well, you have those animes that are coming out now too, Splinter Cell and Devil May Cry.
Oh shit, that Splinter! I don't fucking care about Devil May Cry at all. But
I'm just saying,
Cell,
it's like they're really trying to tap into.
Ubisoft has mishandled all those games.
True. At least we got. I couldn't get into the latest one, but the Castlevania, the first Castlevania.
You didn't like the anime?
There's one they came out with recently. I didn't.
The first two seasons of the
first
main
two
ones
seasons
were fucking gnarly.
Yeah,
I haven't caught up with that one yet.
The other one, yeah, I watched like the first 2 episodes. I was like, I just can't. I don't like these
Belmont
characters.
Fucking Alucard sign me.
Yeah, and then but see, the one that I watched didn't have them in it unless they jump in later on.
I think it might have been something like one of those like DS games, like Order of Escalia or whatever like that.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a Belmont. It was like priest or like magic.
Yeah, so this new one is something different.
Yeah, so that I mean that's kind of cool. It still lives in the world. Do you ever play some of those DS games, by the way?
Dude, they're my favorites. I almost 100% the map all the time. Order of Ecclesia.
Did you play the one that Koji did, that the blood stained that I
was it for the 3DS?
No, it was for the PlayStation 4. Bloodstained?
No.
Dude.
Wait.
That was the one that he had a Kickstarter of and did like $2.5 million of funding.
Shit, I don't know if I played that or not.
Dude.
I may have.
Probably got it for $10 now. And dude.
I'll look for it.
It took the best parts of like Symphony of the Night, modernized and added more RPG elements.
Damn, I don't know. I may have.
Dude, you could craft food in that motherfucker. Dude, fucking gnarly. Anyways, I digress. The point is, at the end of the day, I think it's really a slippery slope when you're doing remakes. And if you're going to do reboots, you just have to make sure it's got that heart. Stop worrying. I mean, but the problem is it's all about profits and returns.
It is.
And that's where we're at with that. So,
yep.
Yeah,
100% correct.
That all said, I don't have any crazy questions for you like I did last time to kind of close it out. But I do want to give you a moment here to kind of promote some of your content and talk about yourself again. Once again here as we wind down with another episode of Let's Set the Tone with the man, the myth, the legend, Rohit. I'm going to put, again, you'll see the link if you're checking out this post on YouTube or Spotify, but also for right now here in Twitch and links. What is going on and what are you going to be continuing to do and where can they find you?
Well, I love coming on here. I love shooting the shit and just, seeing the chat and seeing the clips, seeing the comments. Talking wrestling's fun. I always enjoy that. But I'm a nerd, man. Mm-hmm. Like I've always been into this stuff as a kid. And nerd stuff I remember it was so weird when that one lady said, this is the first time I've ever felt accepted. I'm like, man, nerd stuff was the first time I felt accepted. That or sports. If I was playing them or talking them. But like nerd stuff, it's always been because you were always an outcast. No one was into Star Wars. No one was into cartoons. And if you did, everyone watched them, but you could never talk about them when you hit a certain age, or anime, wrestling.
Right.
So coming on here and just shooting the shit, talking about new stuff, old stuff, and that's cool, man. And the conversations are always civil, even if we don't agree with stuff, but we understand where the other person's coming from.
Yeah.
So I think that's always cool.
Yeah.
But as far as me, man, you've really inspired me and helped me out to start doing Raju's rants. I try to put one out every week. I don't think I will this week because I think I'll just repost a lot of this stuff. But I just been. It's therapeutic, and like I said, if you guys want to watch it, you may not agree with everything I say. A lot of it's in the same tone of what I'm doing here, but I just see a lot of discourse with a lot of my favorite franchises, and it's sickening. So I wanted to do something that just to get it off my chest and express myself. And a lot of people, or a few people, will comment or they'll respond to it or hit me up. And I just think that stuff's really cool. So you can go to my YouTube. I just got a TikTok, which I think is the Rohit Raju. I have like 20 followers or something like that. I don't know. I don't really have a lot. I'm reposting a lot of old stuff. But my buddy Jake, he was like, hey, man, you want to get a bigger social media presence, jump on yet another social media thing. And I hate social media, but the only thing I use it for is for wrestling. So my Instagram, my Twitter or X, I'm on Threads. Honestly, you can just look up the Rohit Raju or Raju Zane 80 for my Instagram, and you'll find me. And then, of course, anytime I'm here, and then if I'm in your city, I know I'm doing a show October 5th in Bay City. I will be doing some shows in Saginaw where I used to train. I've been talking to them, so I'll be back, probably doing a couple shows.
PPW?
Yeah, the UCW. But I'll be doing a PPW.
Who runs that? Is that Orchestra still?
No, UCW is
I'm thinking
where
of
I used to train. Yeah, UWA.
UCW, right.
I'm supposed to have shows in Canada, but the border turned me around again, so God knows what's going to happen there. I had 3 big shows next month, but Scott DeMore's trying to figure that out for me. Yeah, it's just they're weird about us going over there. They're just giving us a hard time. It's stupid.
Where are you crossing? Detroit, or are you crossing?
I've crossed Port Huron, Detroit, Sarnia, everywhere, and it's just dumb.
Oh my gosh.
I know, old man here.
Bedtime.
Yeah, your coffee didn't work. But no, you can check me out there. Of course, prowrestlingtees.com/Rohit.
Links right there too.
Get a t-shirt. The Wu-Tang one's probably one of my favorites. That's it, man, really.
Yeah.
That's honestly it.
I did tell him he needs to work on it. It's really simple. Just go to Linktree.
Oh, yes, I'm going to do a Linktree.
We're going to get him a Linktree so we can have all this stuff consolidated.
Yeah.
It'll be easier because all these fucking social media platforms. I mean, my Linktree for Banter and Babble has like 12 fucking things. Now,
really?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had a lot of shit on there as well too. So, but and once he creates a Linktree, I'm going to put his Linktree in there as well too. So at the very worst, you would find him through my Linktree. But no, I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
as always, for sure. This is always fun. We've been wanting to.
Dude,
we've been talking about this for years, anyways.
Yes.
So to be able to do this consistently is going to be nice. I got to get Cappadocian somehow maybe on here someday. Yes. Out there, I'd love to have Peasy on here.
Dude, seriously.
For a conversation as well.
Sure, he has some really good GameStop stories.
And
he'll have some good Edith stories too.
Stories, no doubt. But so funny. Russell, appreciate you being out here and hanging out as well too. We love you. Always great to have his perspective. That is
GameStop band, Doogie GameStop legends.
The GameStop band. And appreciate Trick hanging out for a little bit as well too, and have that beer review. And of course Chief Fat for bringing in those folks for that raid. As far as Banter and Babble, so this will be out. If you're catching it right now, of course, it's probably been about a day or two since we did this live, but. We do have a show coming up this next Wednesday for B&B. Can't remember exactly the topics. We're just trying to still figure some of that out as well too. I think we got a few things. I think Agatha we'll talk about, and then Penguin I know are on the radar.
We're gonna watch that
as well too. Yeah, and if you haven't watched Rebel Ridge yet,
excellent movie.
You did see it?
Yes.
That was.
Also, have you seen Don Johnson in there?
Oh my God, that was an amazing movie.
Yeah, great movie.
Netflix is about like 10% of the time they make a good movie of the movies they make. Specifically, this was a great movie.
It was.
But Russell says, can't wait for a future episode to argue with you. And he definitely does have some opposite point of views and some of the stuff he said. So I am also looking for that as well, too.
Russ, nobody
Maybe
cares.
someday we'll look. Maybe someday we can even get a round table in here and do, because I got 4 ports.
The table has to be breakable because I'm going to put someone through it.
That's right, for sure. And don't forget, of course, Monday nights, every Monday night at 7 p.m. Get on and check out Twitch. 7 Dungeons is doing the D&D thing there. Drastin is spinning yarn constantly. It's good stuff as well, too. And then throughout the week, you can make sure to catch Half-Ass Beer Review, dropping videos and shorts nonstop on YouTube. You'll find yours truly on there quite often. Again, we had that beer quest randomly last Saturday.
That's awesome.
The Third Eye Brewing Company. It was a really good time. It's crazy when you go into a place and they almost treat you like you're Norm from Cheers. And they definitely do that, the owners there. So we really appreciate
That's awesome.
that love that we get from there. They're phenomenal. So, but that'll do it for this episode. Let's Set the Tone. As far as the next episode, not sure who's. I'm trying to find somebody for next weekend. It's not been easy, so there may not be one. I do got some content coming out in between there. Hopefully, as well, I'll drop on the YouTube. But in 2 weeks, none other than the man, the myth, the legend as well, Tricky Regent, the soccer coach. We'll be on Let's Set the Tone on the 4th. So
Hell yeah.
Everybody take care. Appreciate, as always, your time for listening to us banter, listen to us babble, and setting the tone.
And bitch.
And bitch. Talk to you soon.